Chapter 688. Boss, where did you get that weapon from? It's too fierce. Kuan Erasure could naturally tell that Li Zhongjie's weapon was extraordinary. The 2 or 3 moves he had just displayed were extremely terrifying. A half-step primitive emperor expert. Kuan Erasure could not even think of resisting such an expert. He could only think of resisting this aura. He thought that Li Zhongjie would suffer a little. But who would have thought that Li Zhongjie would casually take out such a big stick and easily beat this person to the point where he fled in panic? That was also because he reckoned that the other party had run fast. If he had run a little slower, he might have died under Li Zhongjie's cudgel. Lan Kuan was even more astonished to see a weapon that could beat in primitive emperor powerhouse. As a citizen of Kuan City, he had also undergone systematic learning. At the very least, Kuan City had once produced a primitive emperor expert. Hence, he was aware of some of the knowledge regarding primitive emperors. He wasn't completely clueless about them. It was difficult for ordinary weapons to injure primitive emperors. When one's cultivation level broke through to the primitive emperor realm, one's body would form a kind of primitive emperor energy. This was because the energy in one's body was too strong, and it could no longer be contained. Therefore, when it was released outside the body, it would naturally form a wall of air around the body. It was not difficult to see the difference in strength between primitive emperors based on this wall of air. The stronger the primitive emperor expert's cultivation level, the stronger the aura would be. When one reached the sovereign realm, it would form the power of one's own domain. Some people were talented and intelligent, and had already comprehended this level in the primitive emperor realm. However, they could only imitate 30% of it. It was obvious that Elder Baiku had already condensed his own aura. It was basically impossible to shatter it. However, Li Zhongjie had done it easily, and had even almost broken Elder Baiku's leg. This is nothing. When you break through to the primitive emperor realm, I will give you something even more impressive. Li Zhongjie said calmly. However, this sentence was slightly boastful. Although Li Zhongjie was a multifaceted genius, he was still a genius. However, in terms of refining weapons, he might not have such ability. After all, Li Zhongjie was an expert in alchemy. Furthermore, the desolate heaven essence itself was extremely powerful. Forging a weapon that surpassed the desolate heaven essence was not an easy task. Really? Then I'll remember it, hee. Kuan Erasure immediately laughed. I asked you to go to Shueiyu's house to take a look. Did you go? Li Zhongjie asked. Perhaps it was because in her previous life, she ended up being alone for the rest of her life. Therefore, in this life, she had become a little wishy-washy. She also had a kind of eager attitude towards the couples around her. He even paid a lot of attention to it. Obviously, this was a typical attitude of an old person. Her own matters were not settled yet, but she was always worrying about other people's matters. That's right. I have not been to Shueiyu's house. Basically, I have been contacting her through letters. Previously, I have been writing in, but recently, there have been no replies. I was preparing to go and see what happened after you came out. Kuan Erasure said as he thought about it. Then what are you waiting for? As Li Zhongjie spoke, the 2 of them walked out of the entrance of the Heavenly Stellar Medicine Mansion. It was now the holiday season, and the students did not need to continue their studies in the Heavenly Stellar Medicine Mansion. Instead, they had sufficient time to return home and visit relatives. Alternatively, they could work as a temporary alchemist in a pill workshop in the Holy Flame Royal City, and help others refine some pills to earn some extra money. At the same time, it was also to build up their reputation. Some of them chose to travel around during this period. It was also a very lively and carefree thing to do. However, the entrance of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was a little deserted. When the 2 of them reached the entrance, someone was pacing back and forth. Then, he realized that there were people pacing back and forth in front of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. It was obvious that they were extremely anxious. Miss Wunner. Seeing the person, Kuan Erasure was a little surprised. This Miss Wunner was Shueiyu's servant girl. Kuan Erasure was not stupid. He roughly knew that Shueiyu's status was either rich or noble. It was normal for her to have a servant girl by her side. Young Master Lan, come with me quickly. Something bad has happened. When Wunner saw Kuan Erasure, it was as if she had seen her savior. She hurriedly went up to Kuan Erishur and pulled him away. Kuan Erishur naturally pulled Li Zongjio along. As they ran, he introduced them to Li Zongjio. "Boss, this is Wan'er, Shui Yu's servant girl. Wan'er, this is my boss Li Zongjio." Wan'er waved her hand when she heard that. "What time is it? Why are you still calling me boss and second boss?" He directly pushed the two of them into the carriage. Then Wan'er also squeezed in. "Let's go to the Mirror Moon Villa." With a roar, the carriage quickly rose into the air. It was only now that Wan'er finally stopped. She had only run for a short distance, but she was already panting. "What exactly happened? Why are you so flustered?" Li Zongjio frowned and asked. Just now, this girl called Wan'er dared to be disrespectful to him. However, this was not a big problem, so he simply let her go. It seemed that the situation was a little dangerous. It's Mississippi Mrs. Mother is recuperating in the Mirror Moon Villa. Originally, under the care of Master Mirror Moon, everything seemed to be stable. However, in the past few days, her illness suddenly flared up. Master Mirror Moon once said that only the elixirs of some sect could alleviate her illness. Now, this sect's young master actually brought the elixirs and came to propose marriage. Wan'er said nervously. But in any case, she still clearly explained the cause and effect of this matter. Li Zongjio and Kuan Erishur also heard it clearly. The general meaning was that Shuewa was going to get married. How could this be? Who is so arrogant to dare to steal my woman? Kuan Erishur was unable to restrain his anger. He could not wait to grab that person in front of him and give him a good beating. I remember now. It's the Mystic Yuan sect. It's the young master of the Mystic Yuan sect. I heard that the Mystic Yuan sect is very powerful. The Mystic Yuan sect. When Kuan Erishur heard this name, he was slightly shocked. Li Zongjio also looked at Kuan Arashi's expression. The Mystic Yuan sect's strength was a well-known first-rate sect in the Xingyin dynasty. It was different from the Spirit Valley sect and the Valley Immortal sect. The Mystic Yuan sect specialized in cultivating elemental force cultivation experts. It was similar to the Foggy Snow Pill sect near the Wuxia city that Li Zongjio came from. However, the Foggy Snow Pill sect was only equivalent to a third-rate sect. But the Mystic Yuan sect was equivalent to a first-rate sect. Usually, a first-rate sect's sphere of influence could affect the area of several first-rate cities. Such strength could be seen at a glance. So what if it's the Mystic Yuan sect? I came from Kuan Castle. What kind of scene have I not seen? Just bring me there. Kuan Erishur was ready to risk everything. After all, the people in Kuan Castle had always been straightforward. The strength of Kuan Castle was definitely similar to the Mystic Yuan sect. But now, if they wanted to compare with the Mystic Yuan sect, the Mystic Yuan sect would probably not even bother with them. Well said. Miss Wan'er, show us the way. It's too slow, Li Zongjio said, and then grabbed the two of them. Boom! They rushed out of the carriage and flew towards the sky. With Kuan Arashi's strength, it wasn't difficult for him to fly alone. However, after a short while, he had to rest for a while, or he had to use his Yuan spirit state. However, Li Zongjio directly brought the two of them up into the sky, and it seemed so easy for him to do so. At first, Wan'er was shocked. However, her willpower wasn't something that ordinary people could compare with. After calming down, she determined the direction and pointed towards the Mirror Moon Villa. Over there. Boom! Under the state of using the hidden dragon art, there wasn't even the slightest bit of aura. In just a few breaths, Li Zongjio and the other two landed in front of the Mirror Moon Villa. Chapter 689. The Mirror Moon Mountain Villa was a place where an expert lived in seclusion. No one knew his name, but he called himself Master Mirror Moon. However, this person had an extremely illustrious title in Jianghu, Master Mirror Emperor. Rumor had it that this person was proficient in mental power. No matter how one tried to hide, they wouldn't be able to hide from Master Mirror Emperor. In addition to his illustrious reputation in Jianghu, Master Mirror Emperor was also the teacher of many princes in the Imperial Palace. His name was also given to him by the Imperial College. However, there weren't many people who could catch Master Mirror Emperor's eye and be personally taught by him. In addition to being famous for his mental power, Master Mirror Emperor was also proficient in recuperation. Shueisha could be considered a disciple that Master Mirror Emperor had taken a fancy to. Originally, she was only following her mother to recuperate in the Mirror Moon Mountain Villa. However, Master Mirror Emperor had taken a fancy to her and wanted to take her as a disciple. Shueisha actually ignored him and ran down the mountain alone. She ran into the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and became a disciple of the manor. When Master Mirror Emperor heard this, he wanted nothing more than to slap the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor to pieces. However, this disciple couldn't run away. Who knew how many famous and noble families wanted to become Master Mirror Emperor's disciple? Up until now, no one had taken a fancy to her. It was rare for him to take a fancy to Shueisha. Recently, Shueisha's mother's health hadn't been very good. Even Master Mirror Emperor found it difficult to suppress her. Now, she was about to reach the end of her road. At this moment, the Mystic Origin sect came to propose marriage with medicinal pills. These people clearly had impure motives, but so what? At this moment, in the main hall of the Mirror Moon Mountain Villa, a group of green-robed cultivators sat on the left and right sides. On the right side of the main seat, there was a well-dressed man with a tall and straight figure. As he listened to their conversation, the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. However, the corner of his eyes was constantly sizing up a young girl standing behind the person sitting on the high seat. There were two people sitting on the high seat. One of them looked very old with a head full of white hair. However, she had a dignified bearing and held a gemstone crutch in her hand. This old woman was the owner of the Mirror Moon Mountain Villa, Master Mirror Moon. People called him the Mirror Emperor. Sitting beside Master Mirror Moon was also an old man. However, this old man's hair was black and his face was red. His fingers were thin and powerful. What was surprising was that this old man only had one arm. The sleeve of his left hand was also empty. With the current technology, it wouldn't be a problem to install a prosthetic arm. Not to mention the fact that he was able to sit together with the Mirror Emperor. Naturally, it wasn't difficult to see that this person was able to sit on the same level as the Mirror Emperor. This person's strength must be extraordinary, but now he actually maintained a one-armed posture. Obviously, he had some eccentricities. This person's status was not low either. He was one of the 7 managing elders of the Mystic Yuan sect. The so-called principal elders were naturally some of the elders with real power. Basically, all the big and small matters in the sect had to be handled by these 7 elders. The one-armed elder in front of him was in charge of the External Affairs Hall in the Xinyuan sect. All external affairs, including the deployment of manpower, travel outside the borders, and so on, were basically the responsibility of this elder. Elder of the Foreign Affairs Hall, one-armed Xiaoyuan. The person standing behind Master Mirror Moon was Shueisha. At this moment, Shueisha was expressionless. She gritted her teeth and only clutched the corner of her clothes. Shueisha really couldn't bear to see her mother's painful appearance these past few days. Now the young sect master of the Xinyuan sect had finally seized the opportunity to rush over and actually proposed marriage. Wasn't his intention obvious? He clearly wanted to use this elixir to directly take Shueisha away. At the same time, he could also receive the Mirror Emperor's care. After all, Shueisha was now the Mirror Emperor's disciple. Elder Xiaoyuan, I, Mirror Moon, am extremely grateful for the Pale Flame True Spirit elixir that you sent over. However, as for Princess Jing'an's marriage, it still needs to be discussed in detail in front of the Emperor. Master Jinghua said. Her words attracted everyone's attention. After talking for half a day, they finally got to the main topic. The handsome man sitting below couldn't help but straighten up. However, when he heard Master Mirror Moon's words, he couldn't help but frown. What was this? Was she trying to take away the elixir and then push the blame to the Emperor Xingyan? Shueisha's identity was no longer a secret. Shueisha's true identity was the Shengyan dynasty's Princess Jing'an, a princess of a generation. No wonder she could receive the Mirror Emperor's care. The Xinyuan sect was also very bold. They seemed to be relying on their current strength to directly propose marriage to the princess. If they succeeded, not only would they have a closer relationship with the Shengyan dynasty, but they would also directly form an extremely friendly alliance with the Mirror Emperor. From then on, embarking on the path of meteoric success would be an extremely normal thing. This would allow the Xianyuan sect to directly break through the ranks of the same forces. This was also a very good opportunity. After all, there were only 3 princesses of the Xingyan dynasty. The eldest one was already married. As for the remaining 2, they were also very popular. After learning that Princess Jing'an's mother was terminally ill, the Xianyuan sect immediately prepared a big gift. The Mirror Emperor had previously said that Princess Jing'an's mother's illness was incurable. However, the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir was a grade 7 elixir. Furthermore, it could only be found in the Xianyuan sect. Currently, no one could refine the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir. These elixirs had already become the Xianyuan sect's most precious treasures. The fact that the Mystic Yuan sect's young sect leader could bring one out to save a dying person, and at the same time, exchange it for such an opportunity, it was obvious that the Mystic Yuan sect's plan was very thorough. Now Princess Jing'an was most likely going to get it. Although Princess Jing'an really wanted to take the elixir, these people from the Xianyuan sect would definitely not let her go. Mirror Emperor is Princess Jing'an's master. We came here to arrange the marriage in advance. Moreover, Princess Jing'an's mother is also in the Mirror Moon Villa. After both of them agree, we will go directly to the Emperor. This way we won't be rash. If Mirror Emperor agrees, this marriage is definitely going to happen. We can also give our sect's sacred item, the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir, to the princess. After all, her mother's health cannot be delayed. Xiao Yuan said intentionally. He deliberately mentioned Princess Jing'an's mother's condition in front of Princess Jing'an to directly provoke her. Moreover, although our young sect master does not dare to say that his talent is unparalleled in the world, even in the Xingyan dynasty, he can more or less be considered an outstanding person. Xiao Yuan said. These words were obviously very modest. Clearly he was being courteous. Based on the look in the eyes of the Mystic Yuan sect's young sect master, it was clear that he did not care about anyone at all. Changhe, you say it yourself. Yes, Elder. Gong Changhe stood up and cupped his hands at the Mirror Emperor and Xiao Yuan. Then he gradually released the aura from his body. Grade 5 Yuan Monarch. As his aura was released, the corners of Gong Changhe's mouth curled up slightly. Changhe is untalented. After painstakingly cultivating for 22 years, I am only a grade 5 Yuan Monarch. However, Changhe believes that there are few people in the same generation in the Sacred Flame Royal City who can match me. Chapter 690. Gong Changhe's words were obviously meant to provoke all the young talents in Monarch City. However, he was just that strong. It would be very difficult to find a few experts like Gong Changhe. Where did you come from? Do you want to find an opponent so badly? Just as everyone was surprised by Gong Changhe's strength, an extremely disdainful voice came from behind. It happened to come from the entrance. Kuan Erishur took the lead and jumped in through the door. The words just now were said by Kuan Erishur. The style of his words was very similar to Li Zongjio's style. Shueihua also raised her head and looked outside the door. She immediately saw Kuan Erishur, and her mouth opened wide in shock. Why was Kuan Erishur here? If Lan Kuan was involved in this matter, it would be a very troublesome matter. Therefore, Shueihua was extremely worried in her heart. However, this scene was exactly what Shueihua was looking forward to. Kuan Erishur was finally here. Everyone turned their heads. Who was it that dared to cause trouble in the Mystic Yuan sect? Everyone present was basically a disciple of the Mystic Yuan sect. This time, besides coming down the mountain to support their young sect master, they also wanted to better display the strength of the Mystic Yuan sect under such circumstances. Now that the Mystic Yuan sect's momentum was strong, they naturally wanted to be the first to kill their way out, and then gain a greater advantage. Interesting. Mirror Emperor looked at Kuan Erishur and Li Zongjio. These 2 mere youths dared to barge into his Mirror Moon Villa. Presumably, the people who flew directly from the city were these 2. However, Mirror Emperor didn't say much. The current situation seemed to be a little interesting. Who dares to be impudent in the Mirror Moon Villa? The first to enter were the guards of the Mirror Moon Villa. 2 white-clothed sword cultivators walked in and wanted to capture Li Zongjio and Kuan Erishur. Uncle Bai, they are my friends. Shuiyu hurriedly shouted. The few people who were about to make a move exchanged glances with each other before looking at Master Jingyue. Master Jingyue also waved her hand, indicating for them to leave first. Immediately, the two of them cupped their hands together and left. These two brats had run too quickly just now. They had slipped into this place without anyone noticing. If anything were to happen, it would all be on their heads. Master Mirror Moon didn't say anything. Behind her, Shuiyu also realized that she had been too excited. Gong Changhe, who was in front, saw this scene. In addition, Kuan Erasure was exchanging amorous glances with Shuiyu. At this moment, he felt a great humiliation. When he looked at Long Kuan again, murderous intent rose in his heart. Although he hadn't succeeded in proposing marriage, Gong Changhe had already regarded Shuiyu as his woman. For Gong Changhe, even if others took a second look at him, it was something he couldn't tolerate. Therefore, Gong Changhe had already sentenced Kuan Erasure to death in his heart. Since you are also one of Princess Jing'an's pursuers, that's good. I also want to ask for advice from this brother's strength today. I want to let Princess Jing'an see who is her true love. Gong Changhe's lips curled up as he spoke. He could naturally see that Kuan Erasure was only a grade 9 Yuan ancestor. His strength, how should he put it? He was indeed more powerful than the average person. However, in Gong Changhe's eyes, in the eyes of the mystic Yuan sect, he was simply a piece of trash. Anyone who couldn't break through to the Yuan monarch realm was considered trash. There is no need for senior brother to make a move. This is a good day, so it's not appropriate for senior brother to use his sword. It just so happens that I have made some breakthroughs recently. I want to see how the experts of Monarch City look like. A relatively short mystic Yuan sect disciple stood up and stood in front of Gong Changhe. It was obvious that this disciple had won Gong Changhe's favor. It wouldn't be inappropriate for Gong Changhe to make a move. However, this also meant that he had a slightly higher opinion of Kuan Erasure. If his junior brother were to make a move, it would mean that Kuan Erasure was simply unworthy of exchanging blows with senior brother Gong Changhe. Any of his junior brothers would be able to easily crush Lan Kuan in front of him. Who do you think you are to be worthy of exchanging blows with me? Kuan Erasure crossed his arms in front of his chest as he spoke arrogantly. Then, he simply ignored everything else and started to reprimand Gong Changhe in front of these people. You people claim to be from a first-rate sect in the underworld. This young lady's mother is seriously ill and is still lying in bed. You people actually used an elixir to threaten her and force her to marry an ugly person like you. Do you have any shame? If news of what happened today were to spread, the entire Sacred Flame Royal City would laugh until their teeth fell out. Reputable sect. First-rate sect. Bah! Kuan Erasure spoke with extreme disdain. This time, it was Li Zhongjio's turn to be dumbfounded. He immediately gave this guy a thumbs up. This guy was really good at acting tough. He actually dared to say such words and directly insulted a first-rate sect like the Mystic Yuan sect. He was getting bolder and bolder. From the looks of it, this Kuan Erasure was the real badass. Previously, he didn't put the pavilion master of the Chongqing Pavilion in his eyes. Now he didn't put the entire Mystic Yuan sect in his eyes. No one expected that this dark-skinned youth would say such sharp words the moment he jumped up. No one would dare to not give face to the Mystic Yuan sect. Although everyone was well aware of this matter and knew what was going on, they didn't want to expose it. If they directly exposed the other party's intentions, then how could the other party continue to mingle in the future? How embarrassing would it be if he said it out loud? Even Master Mirror Moon herself didn't expect this brat to be so outspoken. He was simply too courageous to directly point out this matter. It was rare to see such an outspoken young man nowadays. Most people were as hypocritical as they could be. It was very annoying to look at them. Master Jingyue was also an expert in mental strength, so she only needed to glance at them casually. Even if she could roughly see what kind of person you were, no matter how many disguises you put on, they would all be useless in front of Master Jingyue. Therefore, Master Jingyue had long seen through the tricks of these young people. It was rare to see a youth like Kuan Erasure, who spoke so directly and didn't show any mercy. On account of this Kuan Arashi's unconventional style, Master Jinghua would protect herself. Master Mirror Moon herself would choose to protect Lan Kuan. She didn't die today to give this young man a chance. Shameless boasting. How dare you insult our sect? Today either you die or I die. The previous disciple also directly roared. He was ready to cut the Gordian knot and kill this kid first. The rest could be discussed slowly. After all, no one would care about the words of a dead person. Chapter 691. Immediately, the disciple thrust his sword towards Kuan Erashur. The terrifying aura contained within the sword was aimed at Kuan Arashi's chest. Kuan Erashur understood that he could only pretend for a while with his sharp tongue. When the time came for him to fight, the moment would come. There was no doubt about it. Moreover, Kuan Erashur also knew how serious the effect of his words were. Immediately, the Kuan Wing spear appeared in his hand and blocked in front of him, blocking the sword aura. Seeing the two of them fighting, Elder Yuan didn't panic. Elder Xiao Yuan was no longer in a hurry. Previously, this Lan Kuan brat dared to boast so shamelessly. In that case, he would get his disciples to teach this brat a lesson. Haha, this disciple of mine is a little impulsive. Tianfei, you have to be careful. If you break anything in the Mirror Moon Villa, you will be held responsible. Xiao Yuan pretended to be angry as he spoke. He seemed to be warning his disciple Tianfei. However, in reality, he was mocking Kuan Erashur. What he meant was that if his disciple wanted to cripple Kuan Erashur, he could do it with a raise of his hand. He wouldn't even touch anything in the surroundings. Let's see if you are afraid or not. Hearing Elder Yuan's words, Tianfei's lips curled into a smile. Elder, don't worry. Tianfei will be able to defeat this brat in 3 moves. Tianfei twirled the snow-white longsword in his hand and immediately released rays of light. Then, a sword light emerged from the longsword and spread out like ripples in the water. Boom! The sword aura vibrated. In an instant, it rushed in front of Kuan Erashur. Kuan Erashur also circulated his Yuan power. Under such circumstances, if he was defeated in 3 moves, it would be extremely humiliating. Kuan Flash! Kuan Erashur shouted in a low voice, and the spear in his hand madly thrust out. Immediately, it rushed out like a bolt of lightning. Boom! Boom! The sword chi that came from the front was also shattered by Lan Kuan. However, the instant he attacked, Kuan Erashur clearly sensed that there seemed to be some kind of power approaching him from behind. When he turned around, he realized that Tianfei had already appeared behind him. Is that all you've got? 1 move is enough to kill you. Tianfei said disdainfully. The sword in his hand was already stabbing towards Kuan Arashi's throat. Master Jinghua sat up straight, and her hands moved slightly. Tianfei wanted to kill someone in front of her. That was a little arrogant. However, just as Jinghua was about to attack, she realized that something was amiss. Then she sat down. Tianfei's gaze, and the sword in his hand, had already locked onto Kuan Arashi's neck. Kuan Erashur, a piece of trash who had not even broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, dared to be arrogant in front of him. A grade 3 Yuan monarch? The strength of these sect disciples was different from that of unaffiliated cultivators. The bigger the sect, the more difficult it was for them to live like a prince. The competitiveness of these disciples would be even more terrifying. Therefore, to be able to stand out in such a large sect, one had to have gone through a lot of hardships. Therefore, Tianfei's attack was extremely ruthless. He had already determined Kuan Arashi's strength based on his actions. It could be said that Kuan Arashi's strength was rather ordinary. In front of a true sect expert, Kuan Erashur simply did not have the slightest ability to retaliate. Just as Tianfei was about to stab Kuan Erashur with his sword and make him bleed, he suddenly felt a gust of wind coming from behind him. This was a dangerous feeling. Tianfei instinctively withdrew his sword and placed it behind him. It had to be said that Tianfei's reaction speed was very fast. However, in front of the person behind him, it did not matter how fast he reacted. Li Zongjio used the Desolate Heaven essence in his hand to smash Tianfei's back. The sword in Tianfei's hand broke with a clang. Tianfei also spat out a mouthful of blood. When the blood spurted out, Tianfei felt a strong sense of dizziness. There was also a feeling of his strength being torn apart that was hidden in his body. Tianfei could not believe that Li Zhongjiu's attack was so ruthless that it felt like his internal organs were about to be shattered. Bang! Tianfei's entire body flew out. With a bang, he directly crushed a table. Tianfei sat paralyzed in the ruins with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, a sharp pain came from his lower abdomen. Tianfei finally understood that his yuan bead had been damaged. My yuan bead. Tianfei briefly sensed his condition, and his face turned ashen. This was because he could sense that his yuan bead had been shattered into pieces. At the same time, his body was like a rubber ball that was riddled with holes. The yuan qi that he had painstakingly cultivated for 20 years had completely dissipated. Boom! No! Tianfei immediately roared towards the sky. When Elder Xiao Yuan saw this, he immediately stepped forward and appeared beside Tianfei. He poured yuan qi into Tianfei's body and glared angrily at Li Zhongjiu, who was holding the desolate heaven essence. What a vicious brat! He actually destroyed his yuan bead. Destroyed his yuan bead. Immediately, all the mystic yuan sect disciples present gasped. They looked at the young man who had been standing beside Kuan Erishur and had not said a single word since the beginning. However, he had destroyed Tianfei's yuan bead the moment he attacked. Tianfei's strength was not much different from theirs. Who knew that he would end up in such a state? Furthermore, even if there was a grudge between the two of them, there was no need to destroy someone's yuan bead the moment he attacked. This was indeed too cruel. In the eyes of the mystic yuan sect disciples, Li Zhongjiu was the devil. Even Master Jingyue was shocked by Li Zhongjiu's methods. She originally thought that Kuan Erishur was arrogant enough. However, Li Zhongjiu's actions seemed to be even more brutal and direct than Kuan Erishur. At most, Lan Kuan would only curse a few words. However, when Li Zhongjiu attacked, he directly crippled the elemental bead of one of the disciples. This was equivalent to destroying the other party's cultivation. In the eyes of an outsider, such a scene was simply vicious and merciless. Furthermore, he did not even care about his own life. Where did this Li Zhongjiu get the guts to directly cripple someone's essence pearl cultivation? This was equivalent to crippling Tianfei. Previously, he was still calling others trash. Now that it was his turn, he had directly become trash as well. It made people sigh. Today, I will give Shuei a face and not kill you. Li Zhongjiu kept the desolate heaven essence in his hand and walked forward with his hands behind his back. He looked at the people in front of him. Who was it that wanted to steal my brother's woman? Just step forward. Chapter 692. Once Li Zhongjiu's words came out, everyone present was stunned. They simply couldn't believe their own eyes. Was this guy trying to provoke the entire mystic yuan sect? What did he mean by your brother's woman? At first, Shuei was worried that something would happen to Li Zhongjiu and Li Zhongjiu, so she had to protect them no matter what. However, she did not expect Li Zhongjiu to say such words. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. Who is your brother's woman? How shameless! She stomped her feet in anger. This caused Shuei herself to become extremely shy. Master Jingyue had a strange expression on her face. Shuei was the name Princess Jinggan used outside. Naturally, Master Jingyue was aware of this. Gong Changhe, who was about to explode, could not hold it in any longer. The woman he fancied was actually Li Zhongjiu's brother's woman. He was simply courting death. Gong Changhe's strength of a grade 5 yuan monarch instantly erupted. Brat, I'll meet you today! Gong Changhe roared angrily. Then his figure suddenly rushed towards Li Zhongjiu. He was using the powerful jade breaking palm that he was extremely proficient in. Immediately, he felt a fishy wind blowing in his surroundings. Boom! When Gong Changhe made his move, Elder Xiao Yuan realized that the situation was not good. There was something strange about that kid. Tianfei was crippled before he could even see it clearly. Even if Gong Changhe personally made his move, he might not be able to gain any benefits from it. Be careful! Elder Xiao Yuan only had time to shout. Then, he saw Li Zhongjiu smash Gong Changhe's head with his staff. Originally, this blow was enough to cause Gong Changhe to suffer a concussion. However, a ray of light appeared above Gong Changhe's head and directly shattered this force. Boom! The light that had just appeared above Gong Changha's head was immediately suppressed. "My purple gold helmet!" Gong Changha immediately cried out in alarm, and his body fell heavily to the ground. Li Zongjio could not help but wave the desolate heaven essence in his hand. He glanced at the desolate heaven essence in his hand, before looking at Gong Changha. "You're quite stubborn," Li Zongjio could not help but ask. However, when Li Zongjio smashed the purple gold helmet, it was no different from cutting off a piece of flesh for Gong Changha. This purple gold helmet was a gift from Gong Changha's father when he came of age. With the purple gold helmet, even if he was facing an epic emperor, he wouldn't be killed instantly. At the very least, he would be able to resist for a while. He had worn the purple gold helmet for many years, but he had never used it. Now, Li Zongjio had smashed the purple gold helmet into pieces with just a light blow. This was a defensive Yuan artifact that could withstand the attack of a primitive emperor. It was destroyed in Li Zongjio's hands, and it was in such a dubious battle. The cost of a second-grade Yuan artifact could not even be measured by gold Yuan or purple Yuan coins. It would cost at least tens of thousands of high-grade Yuan stones to buy this purple gold helmet. You destroyed my purple gold helmet." Gong Changha immediately pointed at Li Zongjio in an incomparably furious manner. He had never imagined that this insignificant Li Zongjio, a mere member of the Sacred Flame Imperial City, would be able to so easily destroy his purple gold helmet. In fact, if it weren't for the purple gold helmet, Gong Changha's head would have exploded. It wouldn't be Gong Changha's turn to clamor here. "Set up the formation." A mystic Yuan sect disciple immediately roared when he saw the situation. He was considered a senior among the remaining disciples. The remaining 6 mystic Yuan sect disciples immediately raised their swords and surrounded Li Zongjio. 6 swords were pointed at Li Zongjio. "Master!" Shuiwei immediately pulled Master Jingyue's arm and shouted when she saw this scene. She was afraid that Li Zongjio would be killed by the mystic Yuan sect disciples in front of her. However, Master Jingyue merely raised her hand. The scene before her eyes could be said to be extremely exciting. She had never thought that even the people of the mystic Yuan sect would dare to behave atrociously in her Jingyue villa. Master Jingyue's usual temperament was really too gentle. Now, she could borrow Li Zongjio's hand to teach the people of the mystic Yuan sect a lesson. However, she naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing to make the people of the mystic Yuan sect her enemy. Master Jingyue herself was in primitive emperor powerhouse. However, a mere primitive emperor powerhouse would find it difficult to make an enemy out of the mystic Yuan sect. "No need. Your friend's strength isn't that simple." Li Zongjio's 2 attacks could be said to be full of lethality. This was clearly a wolf in a flock of sheep. It was almost impossible for these people to take down Li Zongjio. Killing formation destroy. The swords in the hands of the 6 mystic Yuan sect disciples started to spin wildly, as if they had gathered into 6 extremely terrifying sword auras that directly shrouded Li Zongjio. In the face of this terrifying killing formation, Li Zongjio didn't take it seriously at all. His figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. "He's escaping." He was clearly locked in by the sword formation, but he was able to escape so easily. This was extremely inconceivable in the eyes of others. Li Zongjio waved the desolate heavenly essence in his hand. The great desolation chi seemed to extend out. With a whistling sound, it directly swept up the 6 of them, trapping them together. With a swoosh sound, it directly flung the 6 of them away. Bang! Bang! The 6 of them flew out of the house. As their Yuan chi was locked by the desolation chi, the 6 of them couldn't even stabilize their bodies when they were thrown out. He rolled down from the top of the mountain. "Rumble! Elder, save us!" They couldn't move because of the desolation chi, and could only shout loudly at the top of their lungs. Elder Xiaoyuan couldn't endure anything. At this moment, an extremely terrifying Yuan power undulation was circulating on his only right hand as it blasted towards Li Zongjio. Xiao Yuan was also in Yuan Emperor powerhouse. However, he did not display the power of an Yuan Emperor powerhouse when he made his move. He merely made his strength reach the level of a peak Yuan monarch. Even so, the power of his move was still very terrifying. The surrounding space seemed to have been compressed. Li Zongjiu indeed felt a wave of pressure. However, the desolate heavenly essence in his hand trembled slightly and easily shattered the aura. Hand over your life. Li Zongjiu directly faced the attack with his staff. Under the desolate heavenly essence, any kind of power would have to give way. Boom! Elder Xiaoyuan's figure was instantly thrown out and landed on the ground. He held his hand behind his back. There was a trace of horror in his eyes as he looked at Li Zongjiu. He was grimacing in his heart. What kind of power did this kid have to be so powerful? The weapon in his hand was definitely not simple. It was a pity that if he used the Yuan Emperor's power today, the Mirror Emperor would definitely not let him off. He would definitely not let him take action. Therefore, he could only forcefully endure it. Elder Xiaoyuan, did you deliberately come to the Mirror Moon Villa today to show off your power? Master Jinghua slowly got up and asked. She also knew that it was time for her to take action. Otherwise, no one knew what would happen if Li Zongjiu continued to cause trouble. Many Yuan King disciples were thrown down the mountain by Li Zongjiu. Judging from the situation of the previous exchange, it was obvious that Elder Xiaoyuan had suffered quite a bit. Even with so many people working together, they still couldn't hurt Li Zongjiu at all. If this continued, it would only be a kind of battle where all pretenses of cordiality were torn apart. Chapter 693. Xiao Yuan took a deep breath. As one of the 7 elders in charge of the Xianyuan sect, there was nothing that he could not accomplish if he personally came to handle this matter. Now that the Mirror Emperor was clearly standing on the side of Li Zongjiu and the others, and wanted to drive them away, Xiao Yuan would definitely make these people regret it. Xiao Yuan has offended you. Since Princess Jinggan is not interested in the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir, we will take our leave first. When he mentioned the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir, he gritted his teeth and enunciated the words clearly. Shuewa shuddered when she heard this. She did not know what to do when she thought of her mother's situation. You treat a mere Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir as a treasure? Li Zongjiu said disdainfully when he heard this. Xiao Yuan sneered when he heard this. Kid, the Xianyuan sect is at a disadvantage today. You have hurt my disciples. I, Xiao Yuan, will not let you off. Xiao Yuan waved his hand and prepared to leave. Now that the Mirror Emperor was present, it was naturally inappropriate for him to make a move. Xiao Yuan would wait until Li Zongjiu was alone, or when there was another opportunity, he would use his own means to make Li Zongjiu realize his mistake. Then he would personally kill him. This was the most correct way to make Li Zongjiu learn how to behave. Wan who had gone to look for Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erishur, had been standing in the corner and watching everything that had happened. The strength of the Xianyuan sect was unquestionable. When she saw that elder sitting together with Master Jinghua, she knew his strength and status. To be able to sit on the same level as Master Jinghua, such a person would be an extremely top-notch existence, even in the Sacred Flame Palace. Now one after another, they had all been easily crippled by Li Zongjiu. And now, they had all left with their tails between their legs. Wan'er had never expected such an outcome. How could things have developed like this? Wan'er's original intention was to elope with Kuan Erishur with the young lady, because anyone could see that this was a deliberate trap. She was waiting for her young miss to jump in herself. He wanted to use a single pill to decide the marriage of his young Mississippi. Such a thing was not allowed to happen. However, she never thought that Li Zongjiu's appearance would cause an unexpected change in the situation. No wonder this guy was asking all sorts of questions in the carriage, and even brought her directly to the Mirror Moon Mountain Villa, preventing even worse things from happening. As for Tian Fei, he could be considered useless. This arrogant fellow had ended up like this in the end. Just you wait. Gong Chenghe grabbed Tian Fei. In any case, Tian Fei was his loyal lackey, so it was only right to take him away. It was impossible for him to leave Tian Fei here. However, before he walked in front of Li Zongjiu, he left behind some harsh words. Ahem, when did I say that you can leave? Li Zongjiu coughed a few times, and looked at the 2 men, when he saw that Xiao Yuan and the others were about to step out of the door. Xiao Yuan's eyelids twitched, and his right hand clenched into a fist. A loud cracking sound was heard. This brat was clearly asking for a yard after taking an inch. Insatiable, he did not take the one-armed Xiao Yuan seriously at all. It's not impossible for me to forgive your offense. Either each of you leave behind an arm, or hand over the gray flame true spirit pill. Li Zhongjie said indifferently. He sounded very serious, and did not sound like he was joking at all. However, anyone with a normal brain would think that there was something wrong with Li Zhongjie's brain. The experts of the Mystic Yuan sect in front of them only gave face to the Mirror Emperor, and didn't bother with you. But now, you're actually pushing your luck. You're jealous and arrogant. You're taking advantage of them, and even threatened to make them hand over the pale flame true spirit pill, before you forgive them. Otherwise, it would be too hilarious to just leave an arm behind. It was clearly aimed at Xiao Yuan's remaining right hand. Mirror Emperor's expression became somewhat meaningful. Until now, Mirror Emperor had been able to suppress what Li Zhongjie and Kuan Erishur had done. Although Tian Fei was injured, he could only blame himself for being inferior. There was also Gong Changhe. Although his purple golden helmet was smashed, he was still alive. If Yi Shiwen wanted to settle the score with him, he would have to wait until he had enough strength to settle the score with Yi Shiwen. However, Li Zhongjie's current behavior was already equivalent to taking the initiative to provoke him. Such behavior was an act of overestimating one's own capabilities in the eyes of anyone. Did he really think that he was not a match for the other party, just because they did not make a fuss about it? What did you say? Xiao Yuan was already starting to get excited. He had never thought that Li Zhongjie would actually say such a thing. Although there was an agreement among the primitive emperor experts that they could not casually display their primitive emperor strength, such strength would definitely be extremely destructive. The city walls that tens of thousands of people had worked day and night to build would probably be turned into a pile of ruins in just one move. It was basically a waste of manpower and resources for an primitive emperor to make a move. It was better when one was in the wilderness. It did not matter if one could destroy the mountains and rivers. However, if one went overboard, the heavens would naturally punish one. However, if one took the initiative to provoke an primitive emperor expert in the city, the nature of the situation would be different. It was only right for an primitive emperor expert to kill one. Even some of the destruction would be the responsibility of one's side. If one died, one's family would have to repay this huge debt. They would even have to compensate for the damage to the primitive emperor's reputation. It could be seen that as long as one did not take the initiative to provoke an primitive emperor expert, it was still relatively safe. However, if one took the initiative to provoke an primitive emperor, just like Li Zhongjie, the outcome would be one's own death. Leave behind the elixir, or the three of you, leave behind 3 of your arms. Do you understand now? Li Zhongjie said faintly. If he let these people go, Li Zhongjie would lose face in the future. How could people who had offended the great evil lord walk out of here safely? That was because Li Zhongjie was still relatively low-key. According to the character of Li Zhongjie in his previous life, these 3 people would have been beheaded long ago. How could they continue to breathe freely here? And just like what Li Zhongjie said, the reason why he did not kill them now was to give face to Shueiyue. Xiao Yuan could not help but laugh when he heard this. It had been a long time since he heard such arrogant words. This was clearly giving him a chance to kill Li Zhongjie. Good, very good. Xiao Yuan looked at Li Zhongjie and laughed loudly. Chapter 694. Mirror Emperor extended her hand and blocked Shueiyue behind her. In the end, she sighed helplessly. Li Zhongjie's performance today had really impressed Master Mirror Moon. However, it was a pity that he wasn't in too much of a hurry to seek his own death. Although he could have survived today's tribulation, Li Zhongjie's actions were a little too arrogant. Master, this is your friend's own choice. You can't blame anyone else, Master Mirror Moon said slowly. Then Master Mirror Moon waved her hand. Kuan Erishur walked to the side and greeted Shueiyue. It was definitely right to leave the rest to Li Zhongjie. Given Li Zhongjie's strength, it was very normal for him to cripple these people. Kuan Erishur did not doubt this at all. You want my Mystic Yuan Sex Elixir pills? Sure, let me see how capable you are. A tyrannical aura was suddenly released from Xiao Yuan's body. At this moment, The empty sleeve of his left hand suddenly twisted into a sharp long sword. Mystic Yuan Pierce. Xiao Yuan took the initiative to attack Li Zongjio. The power of this move had already surpassed the peak of the Yuan monarch realm. It was enough to see that the surrounding space had already become extremely cold. As the principal elder of the Mystic Yuan sect, he naturally had to have some ability. The Mystic Yuan Pierce was only considered an ordinary Yuan technique in the Mystic Yuan sect. However, in the hands of Xiao Yuan, the terrifying power it produced was not something an ordinary Yuan monarch powerhouse could withstand. This move had already used the strength of a Yuan monarch. Haha! Foolish fellow! How dare you provoke an Yuan monarch powerhouse? Gong Changhe was ecstatic. Now that Li Zongjio had offended Elder Xiao Yuan, Elder Xiao Yuan would definitely crush him. The dignity of an Yuan monarch powerhouse could not be challenged so easily. Gong Changhe could only watch as the arrogant Li Zongjio died. Not only that, but Elder Xiao Yuan also wanted Li Zongjio's life, and the weapon that belonged to Li Zongjio. Sigh, Li Zongjio shook his head helplessly. I was kind-hearted, and wanted to give all living beings more chances. But these foolish living beings. Li Zongjio immediately held the desolate heaven essence in his hand, and smashed it in front of him, directly breaking Xiao Yuan's aura. Elder Xiao Yuan was taken aback. He had already raised his power to the Yuan Emperor realm. But Li Zongjio still managed to break through it with a single move. When Li Zongjio made another move, Xiao Yuan was shocked again. What the fuck? Li Elder Xiao Yuan's body, Xiao Yuan Monarch's body, Xiao Yuan Monarch. Boom! Xiao Yuan Monarch was immediately sent flying. Boom! He slammed his head against the beam of the door, and almost broke a tooth in his mouth. His body fell to the ground. It seems like the few of you have chosen to leave your hands behind. Li Zongjio's face was cold as he waved his hand. Suddenly, the vast flying knife with a trace of cold light flew towards Xiao Yuan's arm. Elder Xiao Yuan Monarch had just stood up when he felt a sharp pain coming from his arm. Hiss! Pa! One of his arms was chopped off. Xiao Yuan Monarch did not even have time to react. A dignified primitive emperor's arm was easily chopped off just like that. Although Xiao Yuan Monarch was only a first-grade Yuan monarch, it was very difficult to injure an Yuan monarch expert. However, Li Zongjio had done it so easily. So what if he was an Yuan monarch? In his previous life, once Li Zongjio became the evil lord, the number of sovereign experts he had killed was not small. It was basically as easy as stepping on an ant to kill a person in the Yuan Emperor realm. My hand! Xiao Yuan Monarch suddenly shouted. He could not even pick up his hand that had fallen to the ground because he had lost one of his hands. Such a situation was no doubt shocking to Xiao Yuan. When Master Jingyue saw this scene, she sucked in a breath of cold air. What was going on? Li Zongjio seemed a little strange from the start. This was because even Master Mirrormoon was unable to see through Li Zongjio. It seemed that the power within Li Zongjio's body was extremely terrifying. Therefore, even now, Master Jingyue could not see through Li Zongjio's strength. Even Master Jingyue had figured it out at this moment. As for Li Zongjio, he couldn't even treat him as a young man. Although Li Zongjio's strength had yet to reach the Yuan monarch realm, his imposing manner was already on par with them. Master Jingyue was still very shocked when she thought of this. Your friend, where did he come from? Master Jingyue could not help but ask. An Yuan monarch expert seemed to be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered in front of him. He was not arrogant at all. He did not show any advantage in terms of strength or identity in front of Li Zongjio. Therefore, even Master Jingyue could not help but ask about Li Zongjio's background. My boss, Long Kuan said proudly. With such a boss, it was really too awesome. If he were to tell others about what had happened today, no one would believe it. His boss Li Zongjio had actually helped him beat up an Yuan monarch expert. At first, he thought that Xiao Yuan was going easy on him. But now he saw that Xiao Yuan's arm had been chopped off. Such a scene could no longer be faked. Next, it's your turn. Li Zongjio stretched out his hand, and the vast flying knife reappeared in his hand. Then, the vast flying knife in his hand rotated gently in his palm, as if waiting for Li Zongjio to give the order at any time. When Li Zongjio looked at Gong Changhe became nervous. Gong Changhe suddenly became nervous. No, 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 don't chop off my arm. Don't chop off my arm. I'll give you elixirs. I'll give you elixirs. The purple golden helmet had been destroyed. The mystic Yuan sect's sword formation had been broken. And even the last arm of Xiao Yuan had been chopped off. What else was there to say? If he did not beg for mercy, the outcome would be obvious. Li Zongjie would not hesitate to chop off his arm. Where there's life, there's hope. Gong Changhe warned himself in his heart, and then quickly handed over the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir. When Shueihua saw the Grey Flame True Spirit Elixir appear, her eyes were filled with excitement. If he wanted to obtain the Tsangyan True Spirit Pill from Gong Changhe, he would naturally have to pay a heavy price. However, if he wanted to obtain the Tsangyan True Spirit Pill from Li Zongjie, it would be much simpler. At the very least, it was not impossible. If you had done this earlier, your elder's arm would not have been chopped off. Why bother? Li Zongjie took the elixir and casually glanced at it. He knew that there was no problem with the elixir, and then threw it to Kuan Erishur behind him. Chapter 695. Grade 7 Elixir. Azure Flame True Spirit Elixir. How could it be thrown away? It was a grade 7 elixir after all. Wasn't he going to give it some face? Wasn't he looking down on a grade 7 elixir too much? Kuan Erishur reached out to take the elixir. He naturally understood Li Zongjie's intentions. Thank you, boss, he. Kuan Erishur then passed the elixir to Shueihua, who was beside him. Shueihua quivered. What was the meaning of this? Why did it feel like such a precious elixir was just a piece of candy in Li Zongjie's hands? Scram. Li Zongjie kept the desolate heaven essence, and waved his hand at the people in front of him. In the end, he only lost an arm. The rest of the people could be considered to have kept their lives. After all, the mystic Yuan sect wasn't weak. Li Zongjie had never heard of the mystic Yuan sect. He estimated that after 1,000 years, the mystic Yuan sect would have fallen to a second or third-rate sect. Gong Changhe also helped Xiao Yuan, who had lost an arm up. At the same time, he also picked up the severed arm. Xiao Yuan finally gave Li Zongjie an extremely fierce look. He deeply remembered Li Zongjie's appearance. In the future, he would definitely find Li Zongjie for revenge. But at the very least, he didn't dare to say such harsh words. He chopped off the arm when he said so. He didn't hesitate at all. If he could do such a crazy thing so casually, it was possible that he might do something else that was extremely extreme. Therefore, Xiao Yuan and the rest chose to leave first. The group of people immediately left. Only after being beaten up will you know fear. Li Zongjie couldn't help but say. In the room, because of Tianfei's actions, a table was smashed. He didn't know if it was expensive or not. I'm sorry. You can count the broken furniture as Kuan Arashi's fault. Li Zongjie cupped his hands and said to Master Jingyue. In any case, this was the other party's territory. After barging in and destroying everything in the other party's territory, how could they not feel embarrassed? It's fine. It's just a table. How should I address this young hero? Master Jingyue hurriedly waved her hand. Kuan Erishur just happened to force the elixir into Shueiyue's hands. Take it first. Anyway, I snatched it. I didn't spend any money. Upon hearing Kuan Arashi's words, Master Jingyue couldn't help but want to take her shoes off. Kuan Arashi's head. But, the Jingyue's head. Hey, Li Zongjie. I'm the master of the Jingyue Mountain Villa. You can call me Jingyue. You don't have to be polite. Master Jingyue said. Although Xiao Yuan and the others were injured in the Jingyue Villa today, Master Jingyue was not afraid. She was not afraid even if the mystic Yuan sect came knocking on her door. Could it be that she, the Master Jingyue, was afraid of the mystic Yuan sect? Even if the mystic Yuan sect was powerful, it couldn't be said to be above Master Jingyue's head. Shueihua was shocked. She knew her master very well. To be able to say such words, it meant that she treated Li Zongjie as one of her own. She wasn't even angry at Li Zongjie and the rest. Instead, she was very appreciative. It's an honor to meet you. It was rare for Li Zongjie to be modest. After all, she was also an primitive emperor expert. If Li Zongjie's eyesight was not wrong, Master Jingyue's strength should be at the level of a second-grade primitive emperor. or even a third-grade primitive emperor. Such strength could definitely kill Xiao Yuan instantly. After all, Xiao Yuan was only at the first-grade origin emperor realm. Although he hadn't heard of Jing Yue's name, it wasn't difficult to compliment her verbally. Shueiyue, have you collected the 1 billion purple yuan? Li Zhongjiu looked at Shueiyue. He had already promised Shueiyue that he would be willing to sell as long as she collected the 1 billion purple yuan. According to other people's prices, it would easily be over 10 billion purple yuan. This was already the price of a favor. After all, it was a matter of principle. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu didn't have the slightest concession. This was naturally the case. This 1 billion is too much. Shueiyue almost burst into tears. She didn't notice this at ordinary times, but when she started to earn money, she deeply discovered that 1 billion purple yuan was too much. It was simply an endless number, and it was unbearable for her. Therefore, almost half a year had passed, but she still hadn't earned the 1 billion purple yuan. You are the alchemist who can treat Princess Jing'an's mother? Master Jingyue looked at Li Zhongjiu with some surprise in her eyes. She had heard Shueiyue mention this before, but at that time, Master Jingyue only thought that it was a swindler who wanted to swindle money. Therefore, she didn't lend the money to Shueiyue. That's right. Li Zhongjiu nodded. However, the consultation fee is the lowest, not a cent less. Even if Kuan Erasure comes to me, there is no room for discussion. Li Zhongjiu said solemnly. Wait, Princess Jing'an? So you are a princess. Kuan Erasure looked at Shueiyue in surprise. If they had come a little later today, Shueiyue might have been taken away and married to that lunatic just now. However, Kuan Erasure didn't expect that Shueiyue's true identity was actually a princess. You don't know? Shueiyue lowered her head in embarrassment, but Master Jingyue was even more surprised. These people didn't know that Shueiyue was the current Princess Jing'an, but they actually charged in so bravely, paid so much, and offended the Mystic Yuan sect. With such a huge price, Master Jingyue thought that these two people already knew the identity of Princess Jing'an. Now she admired these two young people even more. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I was afraid that if you knew my identity, you would feel inferior and kneel down when you see me all day long. A second ago, Shueiyue looked delicate and pitiful, but the next second, she became mischievous. TSK, TSK, TSK. You are so beautiful. Fortunately, you are a princess. Otherwise, if you stayed beside me, the little prince of Kuan Castle, I was afraid that you would feel inferior. I thought you were the daughter of some potato tycoon in the city, but it turns out that you are a princess. Kuan Erasure said. Princess or not, it didn't mean much to Kuan Erasure. However, in the future, Kuan Erasure still had to work harder. It wasn't so easy to marry the princess of the Xingyan dynasty. Chapter 696. 1 billion purple yuan? Although she didn't know why Li Zhongjiu was so obsessed with this number, Master Jingyue knew that Li Zhongjiu wasn't there for the money. If he was there for the money, then what about the grade 7 elixir pill? The blue flame true spirit elixir? Or perhaps Xiao Yuan's arm from before was worth far more than this. If it's 1 billion purple yuan, then the value of this elixir pill would be far more than that. Master Jingyue said. Would Princess Jing'an be willing to sell this elixir pill to me? Master Jingyue said with a smile. With 1 billion purple yuan, she could directly let Li Zhongjiu treat her. Therefore, Master Jingyue was actually helping Princess Jing'an in disguise. As in primitive emperor powerhouse, it wasn't difficult for her to take out 1 billion purple yuan. The few big banks had a special overdraft quota for the primitive emperor level powerhouses. Which one of them wasn't worth more than 10 billion purple yuan? If Master wants this elixir pill, then I'll reluctantly estimate it at 5 billion purple yuan. Shueiyue's state of mind was completely different from before. She hadn't expected that she would have the opportunity to chase away all those annoying people and obtain a grade 7 elixir pill. In Shueiyue's opinion, the young sect master wasn't a hero at all. Shueiyue was disappointed that he had surrendered so quickly. She just liked to bully people who weren't strong enough. However, she couldn't sell the elixir pill to her master at a cheap price. Therefore, Shueihua directly increased the price by 5 times when she opened her mouth. 5 billion purple yuan for a grade 7 elixir pill was really something that couldn't be found so cheaply. Master Jingyue's face turned purple when she heard that her disciple had actually tricked her. She really didn't give her any face. This made Master Jingyue so angry that her hands were trembling. You mischievous brat. You actually schemed against your master. Master Jingyue pointed at Shueihua. However, if he could buy a 7th grade pill with 5 billion purple yuan coins, it would be a bargain. No one in the Mystic Yuan sect was able to refine the Grey Flame True Spirit pill. Even if the pavilion master of the Longevity Pavilion came, he might not be able to refine this pill. After all, this was a pill recipe from ancient times. Even if he could refine it, it would be very difficult to obtain so many precious herbs. Therefore, this Grey Flame True Spirit pill was definitely something that had already gone out of print. 5 billion purple yuan in his pocket was not a loss at all. If master doesn't want it, then I can only go to the palace. Shueihua was also a mischievous person. When she saw that Master Jingyue was still hesitating, she waved the pill in her hand and prepared to leave. Wait! Master Jingyue hurriedly stopped Shueihua. She knew that this little girl was deliberately playing tricks, but she had no choice. She had to fork out the money, otherwise this little girl might really take the pill away. If the people in the palace found out, they might fight to the death. After all, this elixir was in the hands of the Xianyuan sect previously, and it was not convenient for them to take action. However, now that it had appeared in the hands of this little girl, it would not be strange for them to obtain this elixir with a little coercion and enticement. Therefore, Master Jingyue was very anxious. This is the origin stone card from the Hengtong Bank. Its value is definitely more than 5 billion purple yuan coins. Take it. Master Jingyue threw out a white card. By relying on this yuan stone card, one would be able to directly withdraw yuan stones from the Hengtong Bank. This was a treatment that only origin emperors could enjoy. The rest of the people did not even dare to think about it. Hee deal. Shueihua saw this and immediately handed the pill to Master Jingyue. She also handed the card over to Li Zongjio. This should be more than 1 billion purple yuan coins. Is it enough for the consultation fee? This kind of left-hand to right-hand movement ended up in front of Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio was also not polite. Alright, no need to dawdle. Take me to see what's the situation. Li Zongjio said. Although Master Jingyue did not dare to believe that Li Zongjio could really cure someone, Li Zongjio's ability was not small. There was no harm in letting him give it a try. This way. Princess, be careful. Wanner also came to Shueiyue's side and carefully served her. Outside the Jingyue villa, Xiao Yuan and the others did not go far. This trip was really too shameful. As an elder of the Xianyuan sect, he actually had his arm chopped off. Immediately, Xiao Yuan also approached and recovered on the spot. He used his lifelong skill to reattach his severed arm. The rest of the disciples also stood guard around him. Only Tianfei, who had woken up. Tianfei couldn't help but cry out loud when he sensed the true state of his body. All his hard work over the past few decades had been wasted just because he tried to stick his head out this time. For him, this was the most unworthy thing. Tianfei's companions, who were on good terms with him before, were now looking at him with cold and indifferent eyes. They even began to deliberately alienate him. Now, it was impossible for Tianfei to recover his cultivation talent. He would forever be reduced to the ranks of trash. For anyone, this feeling of falling to the bottom was hard to accept. Tianfei, we will avenge you, Gong Changhe said in a deep voice. Tianfei was once a loyal lackey. Now that such a thing had happened, Gong Changhe, as the young sect master, naturally had to comfort him. Young sect master. Tianfei quickly shouted as he realized something. However, Gong Changhe also raised his hand. You don't have to say any more. Here are 1 million purple yuan coins. Even in Saint Flame Royal City, you will definitely be able to live a comfortable life. In the future, live a good life and forget about cultivation. Gong Changhe said indifferently, and then threw a card. The face value on the card was 1 million purple yuan, which could be exchanged at any bank. This also coincided with the saying that the Xianyuan sect did not accept waste. Young sect master Yu. When Tianfei heard that Gong Changhe wanted to kick him out of the door, he became even more furious. Wasn't it all because of Gong Changhe that he was reduced to such a state today? As for your storage ring, it was given to you by the sect. Now that you have voluntarily left the sect, I will return it to you. Gong Changhe immediately raised his hand and broke Tianfei's index finger. Ah! The storage ring on Tianfei's finger landed in Gong Changhe's hand. Although Tianfei was crippled, there were still many valuable items in Tianfei's possession. Gong Changhe must not waste them. Gong Changhe, you! Tianfei was furious. Just a second ago, Tianfei was still Gong Changhe's good junior. Now, in the blink of an eye, he had become a passerby. Even when Tianfei looked around at his surroundings, no one stepped forward to speak up for him. This ending should have been expected. No one was willing to be associated with a waste. Haha, good, very good. Today I, Tianfei, will remember the young sect master's kindness to me, and all of you, my good brothers. I, Tianfei, will remember. Tianfei stood up and picked up the purple yuan card. In the past, he had looked down on it. However, it turned out that it could save his life. Only when he was alive, there would be other possibilities. Chapter 697. After Tianfei left, Xiao Yuan finally recovered from his injuries. As he stood up, Xiao Yuan's eyes were filled with killing intent towards Li Zongjio. Mirror Emperor, since you have chosen to protect this brat, so what if my Xianyuan sect exterminates him as well? At this moment, Xiao Yuan's hatred for Li Zongjio was incomparably deep. As for the crippled Tianfei, it was simply not a big deal. Elder, do you want to issue the sect's kill order now? Gong Changhe was also incomparably ruthless as he spoke. The sect's kill order can't be used for no reason. Xiao Yuan said with a frown. Li Zongjio killed our sect's disciple Tianfei. This alone is enough to issue the sect's kill order. Gong Changhe sneered. At this moment, he had already prepared an excuse in his heart. Unfortunately, he could only let junior brother Tianfei suffer a little. At this moment, kill. A few people looked at each other. What was the meaning of this? However, only one of them was smarter and immediately said to Gong Changhe, young sect leader elder, this disciple is feeling a little unwell. I'll go somewhere far away to relieve myself. Go. Gong Changhe waved his hand. Wasn't such a simple meaning very easy to understand? Look at how smart this brat was. When the rest of the people saw that the other disciple had left, they suddenly understood what the junior sect leader meant. His actions were indeed too decisive. However, such a matter was extremely normal for them. Just by thinking about it, they knew. If a crippled person could bring value to them, they would naturally be more than happy. This was the legendary, making use of trash. Haha, this Li Zongjio dared to kill our Xianyuan sect's disciple. Immediately issue the sect's kill order. With such a valid reason, it was only natural for the sect to use the sect's must-kill order once again. Xiao Yuan also knew the reason for the current situation. However, Xiao Yuan only needed to pretend that he didn't know, and everything would naturally fall into place. Li Zongjio, not only am I going to kill you, I'm going to kill everyone in your clan. Xiao Yuan's eyes flashed with fierce killing intent. Once the sect's must-kill order was issued, the whole world would know that the mystic Yuan sect and Li Zongjio were at war. No matter what background Li Zongjio had, he would have to face the mystic Yuan sect head-on. Only when Li Zongjio was killed by the mystic Yuan sect would this matter be settled. Go. We'll wait in the royal city. The outcome would probably be the same as before if only these forces attacked. They just needed to wait a little longer for the experts of the mystic Yuan sect to make their move. With the sect's must-kill order personally issued by Elder Xiao Yuan, it wouldn't be surprising if the mystic Yuan sect invited an origin emperor to take action. The entire Holy Flame Royal City was about to welcome a new storm. Mirror Moon Villa. In a room filled with the scent of sandalwood, a beautiful young woman who appeared to be in her 30s was lying on the bed. Her eyes were tightly shut, and she did not open them. Both of her hands were tightly clutching the blanket on her body. Beside her, A maidservant was constantly helping her wipe away the sweat that kept coming out from her forehead. Her Highness' condition is not optimistic. This strange illness has persisted for nearly 2 years. Master Jingyue explained the situation. She was Princess Jing'an's mother, concubine Xian. Concubine Xian had been recuperating for nearly half a year. Originally, she wanted to recuperate, but who knew that her body's condition would worsen? The people from the Imperial Medical Workshop were completely helpless. Many famous alchemists in the city came to diagnose her, but there were no results. However, there was an old alchemist in the palace who said that concubine Xian was suffering from the cold soul possession. The so-called cold soul possession was just a more vivid description. When the illness occurred, it was as if the cold air rose from the body. Whether it was the body or the mind, it would gradually collapse. Moreover, there was no reason for it. It was as if the cold soul possession had suddenly infected the body, and it directly turned into such a situation. It was unbelievable. A perfectly fine person would actually become like this. There was no cure for the cold soul possession. However, it was possible to temporarily suppress the cold qi in the body with the help of some fire attribute medicinal pills. This was true. This illness is a little strange. Li Zongjio recalled some of the conditions that he had seen over the years. Even Li Zongjio was a little troubled. Is there no way? Master Jinghua couldn't help but ask. Shueihua also looked at Li Zongjio nervously. It is indeed difficult to completely cure it. This is because it is an illness of destiny. It is naturally very difficult to truly go against the heavens and change one's fate. Li Zongjio said. When Master Jinghua heard Li Zongjio's words, her eyes suddenly lit up. To be able to say this was enough to prove Li Zongjio's strength. Ordinary fools would talk about things like being possessed by water ghosts, or being possessed by spirits. These things that didn't make sense were said by them clearly and logically. Therefore, concubine Xian was forced to move out of the palace, because the opposition in the palace was too strong. They said that concubine Xian had an inauspicious body. Damn your whole family. You don't have the ability, yet you actually want to create so many problems. Of course, people would feel contempt for you. Master Jingyue's own judgment only had one conclusion. This was destiny. Although such a mysterious theory was hard to believe, it was something that couldn't be explained clearly. However, as Master Jingyue's strength increased, she was also able to come into contact with this so-called life. Just what exactly was this incomparably mysterious thing? Naturally, she needed to properly research it. Li Zongjio was able to say this at such a young age. This also surprised Master Jingyue. Therefore, Master Jingyue really thought highly of Li Zongjio at this moment. That's right. Concubine Xian's illness is caused by destiny. Master Jingyue said. What do you mean? Do you mean that my mother should have such a fate? Shueihua was also confused. Kuan Erishur couldn't keep up with the rhythm of the two people in front of him. What were they talking about? Originally it wasn't. Someone forcefully changed your mother's fate. This is a treasure. Li Zongjio pinched his fingers and couldn't help but say. This was a good thing. But they didn't know who had used it. With such an item, it seemed easy to change someone's life. However, there were also limitations and some side effects. If you want to completely cure her, you have to find the person who used the fate-changing object and take it from him to change your mother's original fate. Otherwise, you have to rely on your mother's own efforts to change her own fate. However, the difficulty of this is no less than ascending to the heavens. Li Zongjio said, now that her body is extremely cold, it is a note of fate. I will use the obsidian flame to refine her muscles, bones, blood, and flesh. Then, she will be able to survive today's tribulation. Chapter 698. After hearing Li Zongjio's words, Shueihua heaved a sigh of relief and thanked the heavens. She could finally see her mother escape from this abyss of suffering. Shueihua almost couldn't help but want to use herself in exchange for that elixir, when she saw her mother in so much pain. She wanted to use this elixir to make her mother's life easier. Although she knew that this was a very disadvantageous action, she couldn't let her mother continue to suffer like this. Fortunately, Kuan Erishur and Li Zongjio appeared. Isn't it too dangerous to use the spiritual fire to temper the bones? Master Jinghua couldn't help but ask. The spiritual fire was a very dangerous thing. If one wasn't careful, one's entire body would be burned to ashes. Furthermore, Master Jinghua had heard that such a treatment would require one to remove one's clothes in order to observe the flow of the spiritual fire in the body. If Li Zongjie were to do it, wouldn't it be? If Kuan Erishur were to do it, she would most likely die. Moreover, it's just a simple tempering to get rid of some cold air. Li Zongjie waved his hand and said, this was not a very difficult thing to do. It was not like the terrifying poison that had been deeply rooted in the body for a long time and needed to be constantly refined in order to expel it from the body. It was just using the power of the spiritual fire to help warm up the blood in her body. It was a very simple and normal thing. As he spoke, Li Zongjie raised his hand and floated above concubine Xian's forehead. Beads of sweat kept appearing on her smooth forehead. As Li Zongjie's palm floated above her, a stream of spiritual fire quickly flowed into concubine Xian's body. Master Jinghua, who was watching from the side, was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that Li Zongjie had such a method. Using such a method to enter her body, the spiritual fire seemed very simple and normal as it flowed through her body. Li Zongjie seemed to be very familiar with the process, and he was quite adept at controlling the spiritual fire. In less than 10 minutes, he had easily nurtured concubine Xian's bones and other parts of her body. Imperial concubine Xian's tightly knitted brows gradually relaxed. After relaxing, one could clearly see that Imperial concubine Xian's expression had become relatively relaxed. She immediately fell into a deep sleep. Hearing concubine Xian's breathing gradually becoming stable, the few of them were very happy. Mother, your mother needs to rest now, Li Zongjie said. Master Jinghua had seen the young man's terrifying means. She was extremely shocked to see that he had such strength. This was originally a very difficult problem, but now it was easily solved by Li Zongjie. Everyone came out of the house. Li Zongjie also copied a book that was suitable for Imperial concubine Xian's body to cultivate. This set of flying celestial art is suitable for her body to cultivate. If she wants to change her fate, she has to cultivate this book after she wakes up. You can't relax for a moment. Thank you. Shueihua took the book and was quite happy and excited. She didn't expect today's matter. Although it was very ridiculous and strange, at least it could be considered as solving some difficult problems. Heroes indeed come from the young. Even this old woman can't compare to your means, Master Jinghua said. She was not trying to flatter Li Zongjie. With her cultivation, there was no need for her to flatter Li Zongjie. Instead, she felt heartfelt admiration for Li Zongjie's strength. It was said that Li Zongjie was already a grade 5 alchemist at such a young age. Even this point was enough to instantly kill Gong Changhe just now. Now, Gong Changhe could be said to be scared witless. When he heard that he had to cut off an arm, he also fled in a panic. This made people look at him with disdain. Such a person without determination and perseverance, how could he last long on the path of cultivation? But today, you offended the Xianyuan sect. These people will definitely not let you go. If you don't have the confidence to deal with them, you can stay in my Jinghua Mountain Villa. Master Jinghua was also very interested in Li Zongjie. She wanted to know what kind of situation and environment he was in to be able to train such a young man. With so many great abilities, it would be a pity if he was killed by the Xianyuan sect because of this accident. More or less, this Li Zongjie should be given some time. A mere Xianyuan sect is nothing. If they dare to come, just wait for their sect to be destroyed, Li Zongjie said indifferently. If it had been before, Master Mirror Moon would have thought that Li Zongjie was dreaming and delusional. She might have even thought that he had symptoms of madness. But now, after listening to Li Zongjie's words, he thought that Li Zongjie might have some other means. Even if he couldn't destroy the sect, it wouldn't be a problem to protect himself a little. If that's the case, that's even better. Master Jinghua nodded and said. Then Li Zongjie looked at Kuan Erishur. Kuan Erishur, it's rare that Master Jinghua doesn't dislike you and allows you to serve in the villa. You have to perform well. I still have a lot of things to deal with, so I'll take my leave first. Li Zongjie stood up and said. He didn't continue to stay in the Jingyue mountain villa. After saying that, Li Zongjie left in a huff, and didn't give Master Jingyue a chance to refuse. Kuan Erasure naturally knew that Li Zongjie was clearly helping him. Firstly, he could stay here with Shueiyue. Secondly, he could cultivate in front of Master Jingyue. Given Master Jingyue's strength, a casual pointer from her would be enough for Kuan Erasure to benefit. With Li Zongjie's words, Master Jingyue naturally had to give him some face. More or less, she would give Kuan Erasure some pointers. Of course, it was mainly because Master Jingyue saw that Kuan Erasure was a good kid. Although he didn't give pointers easily, once he opened his mouth, it would be very beneficial. He's so young, yet he can understand fate. I'm sure his realm isn't below mine. Master Jingyue looked at Li Zongjie's back as he left. In fact, Master Jingyue only said this. She didn't say it out loud. Li Zongjie's realm seemed to be above hers. Even so, Shueiyue and Kuan Erasure, who were behind her, looked as if they had seen something shocking that they had never seen before in this world. They hadn't expected Master Jingyue to think so highly of Li Zongjie. Perhaps Li Zongjie really had such a great ability. Chapter 699. After leaving the Mirror Moon Villa, Li Zongjie walked slowly, admiring the scenery along the way. When they passed by a forest in front of them, they heard rustling sounds coming from the forest. Qin Liang, do you really want me to die? Tianfei's heart was filled with anger. Even his tone was filled with sadness, as if he was at the end of the road. He had never imagined that his best friend would be the first person to come after his life. Tianfei felt that this was ridiculous, infuriating and lamentable. Tianfei, you can't blame me. The young sect master wants to borrow your men. You can do your brother a favor. Qin Liang smiled sinisterly. Tianfei was indeed vigilant. He had actually hidden himself very quickly. He still had a few treasures on him that could conceal his aura. Clearly, he knew that they would chase after him and kill him. Qin Liang had to search for Tianfei for a long time before he found him. Although Tianfei had taken good care of Qin Liang in the past, killing Tianfei would allow Qin Liang to raise his head in front of the young sect master. Perhaps the young sect master would take good care of him, and his status would be high in the future. After the young sect master took over the position of sect master, Qin Liang would at least be able to become an elder. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will follow. As long as he could obtain benefits, it did not matter whether he was a chicken or a dog. Qin Liang, big brother Liang, let me go this time. I will definitely not appear. I know what you want to do. I, Tianfei, will completely disappear from this day onwards. Given your current status and strength, killing me will be as easy as flipping your hand. Just let me go like a fart. Tianfei knelt down before Qin Liang as he pleaded. Now that his Yuan pearl was shattered, he was already a cripple. Qin Liang was also a grade 1 Yuan monarch. It would be extremely difficult for him to escape from Qin Liang's clutches. In fact, this was something that was simply impossible. Therefore, he knelt before Qin Liang, hoping to find a chance to survive. As long as he could survive, Tianfei was willing to do anything. Seeing Tianfei kneel, Tianfei used to be a high and mighty genius. Now he was kneeling in front of him like an ant. When he saw this scene, his heart felt extremely sour. At this moment, Qin Liang's heart was also filled with a hearty feeling. Haha, Tianfei. Oh Tianfei, I didn't expect you to have such a day. With your talent, it wouldn't be difficult for you to surpass the young sect master. However, in order to please the young sect master, you tried your best to suppress your cultivation, so that you wouldn't surpass the young sect master's realm. I know all these, but so what now? In the end, you still have to kneel in front of me. When Tianfei heard Qin Liang's mockery, his kneeling body trembled slightly. Indeed, what Tianfei said was true. His talent was above Gong Changhe's. Moreover, with his aptitude, it would be extremely easy for him to break through. However, Tianfei chose to conceal his strength in order to save face for the junior sect master. Moreover, he forcefully suppressed his talent and didn't allow himself to break through. Such a great humiliation and forbearance had now turned into nothingness. If he was careless today, he would have completely lost his life. With your talent, think about it carefully. How can I let you go? However, you can rest assured that I won't let you feel the slightest bit of pain. Consider it a repayment for the care you have given me for so long. As Qin Liang spoke, he slowly pulled out the long sword in his hand. The sharp light was so dazzling that Tian Fei's face instantly turned pale. He never expected that this would happen. Qin Liang was actually so ruthless. He didn't care about the past. Qin Liang, I, Tian Fei, will never let you go even if I become a ghost. Tian Fei roared loudly at Qin Liang. At this moment, Qin Liang slashed the sword in his hand towards Tian Fei's head. This slash didn't require any yuan power. Killing Tian Fei was as easy as killing a chicken or a dog. Clang! Tian Fei straightened his body, but the expected pain didn't come. Tian Fei couldn't believe it. Could it really be like what Qin Liang said? There wasn't any pain? When Tian Fei opened his eyes, he saw that the sword in Qin Liang's hand had been deflected away without him noticing. I don't understand. When you kill, do you like to talk a lot of nonsense? Li Zhongjiu casually threw the broken sword in Qin Liang's hand to the ground. Just now, Li Zhongjiu had witnessed the annual drama of betrayal and internal strife. However, killing a person was just killing a person. Why did they have to talk so much nonsense? So, Li Zhongjiu couldn't stand it anymore. Therefore, he personally showed up and broke the sword in Qin Liang's hand. As the dignified evil lord of this generation, he naturally wanted to make this matter more dramatic. Otherwise, why would this world be filled with so many wonderful things for no reason? You! It's you! Qin Liang saw Li Zhongjiu in front of him, and immediately shouted. This great demon had actually chased after him. Immediately, Qin Liang let out a strange cry and fled into the distance. He had fought with Li Zhongjiu before, so he naturally knew how terrifying Li Zhongjiu's strength was. Furthermore, Elder Xiao Yuan's arm had been broken by Li Zhongjiu's sneak attack. Therefore, when he saw Li Zhongjiu appear, he immediately turned and fled. Could it be that this guy had appeared to invite him to a meal? Of course, he was here to take his life. What a coward! Li Zhongjiu threw the desolate heaven essence in his hand. So, pung! The desolate heaven essence slammed into Qin Liang's back, sending him flying, as if he had been hit by a mountain in the vast wilderness. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, Qin Liang rolled on the ground. He felt an intense pain in his abdomen. Qin Liang could not believe it. When he circulated his yuan power, he immediately discovered something that made him almost collapse. His yuan pearl had shattered. No! Qin Liang roared at the sky. This roar of pain was filled with fear and sorrow. In just a split second, Li Zhongjiu had crippled his 20 years of cultivation. The yuan power of his Yuan King realm. The yuan power that was enough for him to become an elder of the mystic Yuan sect, and become the pinnacle expert of this continent, had vanished in a puff of smoke. At this moment, Qin Liang felt a true heart-wrenching pain. Now that he's the same as you, what will you do? Li Zhongjiu looked at Tian Fei, who had a look of realization on his face, and said slowly. Tian Fei had been completely blinded just now. He had thought that he was about to face death. However, Li Zhongjiu's appearance had delayed his death. Now he actually saw that Qin Liang, who had wanted to kill him earlier, had also had his yuan bead destroyed. This caused that person, who was high above and could easily decide his life, to fall into this bottomless abyss. People could not help but marvel at the speed at which the wheel of fortune had turned. Tian Fei's gaze was calm. He knew what Li Zhongjiu wanted. Since that was the case, he would fulfill Li Zhongjiu's wish. Tian Fei immediately stood up, picked up a stone beside him, and slowly walked towards Qin Liang. Tian Fei, what are you trying to do? Qin Liang looked at Tian Fei, who was walking over, and saw the stone in Tian Fei's hand. He immediately shouted. However, Tian Fei did not speak as much nonsense as before. He raised the stone in his hand, and smashed it towards Qin Liang's head. Pung! 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 Every time the stone smashed down, terrifying blood would splatter everywhere. Seeing this scene, Tian Fei did not waver at all. Instead, he continued to use the stone in his hand to smash downwards. Until now, Qin Liang's head had already been smashed into a pulp. Qin Liang's body fell into a pool of blood, twitching nonstop. Tianfei did not hesitate to break the finger on Qin Liang's storage ring, and took off the storage ring. This is his storage ring. Kill me. Tianfei handed Qin Liang's storage ring to Li Zongjiu and said magnanimously. At this moment, he was already satisfied to be able to smash this despicable person to death before he died. Therefore, he did not ask for more. However, it was hateful that he could not avenge Gong Changhe. Chapter 700. Being able to kill Qin Liang with his own hands before his death was already considered as fulfilling one of Tianfei's wishes. Is your talent better than Gong Changhe's? Li Zongjiu looked at Tianfei and asked. Tianfei smiled bitterly when he heard Li Zongjiu's words. Tianfei was just a person who wanted to cultivate, become an expert, and control his own fate. He only had such thoughts in his heart. Who would have thought that he would reach such a level and become Gong Changhe's pawn? Li Zongjiu's eyes were filled with bitterness. If he did not do so, Tianfei's fate could be imagined. Therefore, Tianfei had no choice but to compromise. He did not expect that he would end up like this. So what if I'm better than him? Now that my elemental pearl is broken, I'm completely a cripple. Tianfei said bitterly. His face was ashen. Previously, he might have been blessed with a glimmer of hope, but now, anyone could easily kill him. With such a fate, it was difficult for Tianfei to stand up again. This elixir is enough to restore your elemental pearl. Swallow it. As for your future, it's up to you. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. He casually threw out an elixir. When the Shadow Fox's elemental pearl was broken, Li Zongjiu had already thought that these people did not know how to protect their elemental pearls. Moreover, in this battle, it was extremely easy to damage their elemental pearls. Basically, these people's elemental pearls were in an unstable state. How could they stabilize their elemental pearls? Therefore, Li Zongjiu took some time to refine an elixir. This elixir's recipe had not been written yet. But in fact, this elixir's recipe to restore elemental pearls would appear out of nowhere 2,500 years later. It was said that it was directly obtained from the Genius Tower. Therefore, when this elixir's recipe appeared, it set off a lot of bloodshed. In the end, it was naturally obtained by Li Zongjiu. Moreover, the grade of this elixir was not very high. It was just a 5th grade elixir. Refining it was not a difficult task. Li Zongjiu refined a few more and gave them to Yinghu, Taifai, and the others. The effect of this pill was quite good. Tianfei took the pill. Looking at Li Zongjiu's back as he turned and left, his eyes suddenly widened. Although his cultivation was now crippled, looking at the pill in his hand, it was definitely not a low-grade pill. What is this guy trying to do? Is he trying to poison me to death? Tianfei thought to himself. However, no matter how he looked at it, the pill in his hand did not look like a poisonous pill. It was a real spiritual pill. But what kind of medicinal pill could restore the origin pearl? Tianfei had never heard of such a pill before. If there was one, Tianfei would buy it even if he had to sell his entire fortune. Even if this pill could restore the origin pearl, it should not be given to him by someone who broke his origin pearl. No matter how hard Tianfei thought about Li Zongjiu's code of conduct, he could not figure it out. He could not understand why Li Zongjiu would do such a thing. But for Tianfei, he had nothing to lose now. In that case, there is still a little hope. If I, Tianfei, don't die today, I will definitely fight the Xianyuan sect to the death in the future. Tianfei immediately swallowed the elixir. Those people from the Xianyuan sect were arrogant and confident. Since they had already sent Qin Liang, they would definitely not send a second person. Therefore, Tianfei was considered safe for the time being. The pill entered his stomach. Tianfei immediately felt that the intestines and internal organs in his stomach were all twisted together. The intensity of the pain was thousands, or even tens of thousands of times greater than when his yuan bead was shattered. Tianfei immediately rolled around on the ground in pain. At this moment, Tianfei was already in a delirious state. After an hour, Tianfei, who had fainted on the ground, suddenly got up. His eyes emitted a ferocious light. Looking at his palms, there was a trace of disbelief and extreme shock in his eyes. Oh my God! My origin pearl. My origin pearl is back. Tianfei could not believe it. But the abundant origin energy in his body was still there. Tianfei's heart was filled with joy once again. Xingyuan sect. Gong Changha. If I, Tianfei, don't die today, I will definitely fight you to the death. Tianfei roared towards the sky. Tianfei was only missing a finger on his right palm. He, Tianfei, would get this finger back sooner or later. After this incident, Tianfei understood that if he wanted to survive, he had to be strong first. It was impossible to become a true expert by relying on others' help. He had to rely on his own efforts to become a true expert. Even if there were difficulties, he had to work hard to overcome them. Only in this way could he grow. Li Zongjio did not give him the pill to save him. Instead, he wanted to create another enemy for the Xianyuan sect. He wanted Tianfei to become a thorn in the heart of the Xianyuan sect. Tianfei searched the ground and finally found the storage ring that Li Zongjio did not take away. It belonged to Qin Liang. He opened the storage ring. Although Qin Liang's collection was not as rich as Tianfei's, at least there were many things in it. Each and every one of you, just you wait. At this moment, Tianfei's Yuan Pearl had just recovered, and he still needed some time to recover. If he used too much Yuan power, it would be very easy for him to damage the newly recovered Yuan Pearl. He needed to stabilize it and take it slow. Therefore, Tianfei chose to move forward on foot. Li Zongjio, I have to rely on him. Otherwise, it won't be long before the Xianyuan sect finds me. Tianfei had already made up his mind. Li Zongjio was powerful and mysterious. Tianfei admired him. Although it was no different from entering the tiger's den again, he had to get Li Zongjio's protection if he wanted to take revenge. Perhaps he would die faster. But there was also a chance that he could survive. This was because Tianfei knew that Li Zongjio's strength was terrifying. Moreover, both of their enemies were the Xianyuan sect. Only by working together could they have a better chance of fighting the Xianyuan sect. After returning to the city, Li Zongjio went to the bun shop as usual. He wanted to sit down and have a meal. However, he saw Xiao Zhao walking in a hurry. Her face was gloomy as she walked past him. From the looks of it, it seemed that something had happened. Isn't that Xiao Zhao? Chapter 701. Li Zongjio didn't think much and stepped forward to catch up with Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao turned left and right and came to a house. Two burly men could be seen standing guard at the entrance of the house. When they saw Xiao Zhao return, the two burly men revealed smiles on their faces. Lord Xiao Zhao is back. Come in, please. However, Xiao Zhao didn't look very happy. Instead, he was expressionless. What do you want? Where's my brother? Xiao Zhao said coldly. They're all inside. Your whole family is also inside. They're just waiting for you. Although there was some distance between them, Li Zongjio could hear the conversation between the three people clearly. When Xiao Zhao walked into the house, there were at least 20 or 30 strong men standing in the courtyard. In the middle of the courtyard, a young man was kneeling on the ground. His body was tied up, and his face was blue and purple. Obviously, he had been beaten up before. A middle-aged couple on the side didn't know what was going on in front of them. They were scared out of their wits. The two of them were just ordinary people in the city. Usually, they made some pearl hair clips and did business on the street. However, when they opened their stall today, their stall was directly smashed by a group of people. Then, they were directly taken back to their house by a group of people. A fat man was sitting on a shabby rattan chair. He was holding a beggar's chicken in his hand and was wolfing it down. Next to the chair was a sky stone hammer. This stone hammer light was already awe-inspiring. When it was discussed, it would be even more frightening. Just looking at it was enough to make one feel fear. Xiao Zhao looked at the situation in front of him and didn't have the slightest fear. Hey, isn't this Lord Xiao Zhao? Why are you fools still standing there? Hurry up and bring a chair for Miss Xiao Zhao to sit down. The fat and brainless man immediately shouted for a beating. He glared angrily at the group of trash around him. They only knew how to stand there and stare. Don't bother. I've brought the money. Let my brother go. Take the money and get out of here. Xiao Zhao, who had always been gentle, was now very serious. When he looked at these people, His eyes were extremely fierce and hateful. Hee, don't worry, don't worry. How much money did you bring? The fat man said with a smile. 300,000 gold coins. Xiao Zhao pulled out a stack of banknotes from his cuff. Xiao Zhao had to scrape together all this money to gather a total of 300,000 gold coins. To some people, this amount of money might be less than the meat of an ant. However, to an ordinary family like Xiao Zhao, this amount of money required a lot of effort. Moreover, it was not guaranteed that she would be able to gather this much money. 300,000? That's too little. 300,000 was last week's price. The day before yesterday, your brother lost 500,000 in my casino, adding the 300,000 interest from before. Your brother owes me a total of 1,200,000. The fat man looked like a tiger, but he was very shrewd when it came to calculating. When he said this, Xiao Zhao's eyes widened. He never thought that these people would be so excessive. Don't talk nonsense. My brother didn't gamble a single cent. Today, I'll leave the 300,000 here. Whether you want it or not, get out of here. Otherwise I won't be polite. Xiao Zhao said angrily. These people didn't know when they started pestering his brother. In fact, Xiao Zhao knew that these people were clearly targeting the young lady. Now, they wanted him to steal the young lady's account book and next year's plan. Although he didn't know who was behind these people, Xiao Zhao would rather die than betray the young lady. TSK. Miss Xiao Zhao has been in the 7-star fire room for a long time and has interacted with many big shots. She doesn't know how barbarians like us collect debts. Come, let's see how barbaric Miss Xiao Zhao is. The fat man immediately waved his hand, and 2 figures walked out. They walked towards Xiao Zhao's hand. What do you want? When Xiao Zhao saw the 2 of them walking up, she immediately let out a cry. He didn't expect these people to really dare to make a move. The 2 people directly pounced on Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao turned around and wanted to escape, but the few big men blocked his way. Come here, you stinking girl. Do you really think you're high and mighty? A big man approached and directly came in front of Xiao Zhao. Then he grabbed Xiao Zhao's white and tender throat. However, before he could touch Xiao Zhao, he heard the crisp sound of his own bones. Crack! The hand that reached out was directly flipped over at a 90-degree angle. The 5 fingers suddenly lost contact with each other and just hung on the palm. Ah, you're courting death. Fuck. When the other person saw the miserable state of his companion and saw that another person had suddenly appeared beside Xiao Zhao, he immediately let out a low roar and flew up, kicking out with his leg. Bang! An invisible force blasted his thigh and directly made the big man kneel on the ground with a bang. His broken thigh seemed to have fallen to the ground. It was really frightening to look at. What kind of pain would a broken bone of this degree have to endure? Xiao Zhao did not expect such a situation to occur. When he looked around, a familiar face appeared in front of Xiao Zhao. Young Master Li, Xiao Zhao exclaimed in surprise. The person who came was Li Zongjio. When he saw that these people were about to make a move, Li Zongjio could no longer sit still. In any case, Xiao Zhao was one of his friends. How could these people casually hurt him? Who are you? How dare you mess with me, Sang Biao? The big fat man immediately stood up. At this moment, the thugs beside him also gathered and surrounded Li Zongjio and the rest. Their futures were raging, and it seemed as though they would tear the people in front of them to shreds in the next second. When he saw the miserable state of his 2 brothers, the one called Sang Biao could not help but feel a little nervous. The people who came seemed to be quite powerful. I'll give you all 1 minute to scram. Li Zongjio patted Xiao Zhao's shoulder, indicating for the latter to relax. Then, he walked out with his hands behind his back and looked at the people in front of him, as he said in an extremely benevolent manner. As a manifestation of his benevolence, he gave these people enough time to leave. If they did not know how to cherish the time, they could not blame Li Zongjio for being vicious. Oh my! I didn't expect such a stubborn lover to show up. Go kill this kid. Whoever takes his head will be rewarded with 5,000 gold yuan. Chapter 702. Generous rewards would definitely attract brave men. With Sang Biao's words, The crowd below instantly erupted in excitement. In an instant, all of them pounced towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu's body did not move. With just a thought, his mental energy whizzed out. Boom! Li Zongjiu's mental energy immediately transformed into a terrifying long whip and spread out in all directions. Pa pa pa. All of them were easily sent flying. When he saw Li Zongjiu's incomparably mysterious technique, Sang Biao was completely stunned. What the fuck? What the fuck? However, Sang Biao was a ruthless person. He immediately raised the stone hammer in his hand and violently swung it towards Li Zongjiu. Then he turned around and climbed towards the wall at the side. Evidently, he wanted to escape. Li Zongjiu gently gestured with his palm, causing the stone hammer to change its direction and head towards Sang Biao, who had already climbed up the wall. With a bang, Sang Biao was directly knocked down from the wall. After all, Li Zongjiu was much more peaceful now. Therefore, when he attacked, he did not kill anyone. Those who had recovered from the ground and crawled up quickly fled into the distance. Without a doubt, this Li Zongjiu was clearly a legendary elite. He could easily crush them to death with just a flick of his finger. The two of you stay behind. The courtyard was not big to begin with. With so many people, it was a little crowded. Li Zongjiu let most of the people leave, and then chose 2 people to stay behind. The 2 of them instantly looked aggrieved. They thought that Li Zongjiu was not satisfied with the fight just now, and wanted to kill 1 or 2 of them to sacrifice to the heavens. On the spot their faces collapsed. When they looked at Li Zongjiu, their faces were also filled with grievances. Great hero, please spare our lives. Tie that fatty up. Li Zongjiu pointed at the unconscious Sang Biao. Then with a wave of his hand, an invisible energy surged and cut the rope on Xiao Zhao's brother. Brother, are you alright? Xiao Zhao also hurriedly went forward to help her brother up. His parents also gathered around. They were held hostage just now and did not know what to do. If they were not as strong as the other party, then they could only resign themselves to fate. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu was here today and saved Xiao Zhao's family. Logically speaking, this Xiao Zhao was Song Jiyu's right-hand man. These little punks only needed to talk to Song Jiyu, and naturally, there would be someone to deal with them. He didn't know what this Xiao Zhao was thinking. The 2 burly men finally found a rope and tied Sang Biao up. Following Li Zongjiu's instructions, a basin of water was splashed onto Sang Biao's face. He woke Sang Biao up. How can you be called Sang Biao when you look like this? Li Zongjiu looked at Sang Biao's round body. What was wrong with this world? Sang Biao had just woken up and did not understand what was going on. Father, mother, brother, this is Li Zongjiu, young Master Li, whom I told you about. Xiao Zhao introduced. Xiao Zhao's parents were about to kneel down and thank Li Zongjiu for saving their lives. Li Zongjiu gestured with his hands and lifted the 2 of them up. No need to be so courteous. In the future, if something like this happens, you can just go to Boyu Casino and look for Tai-Fi. Just tell him that I asked you to come. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and said. With Tai-Fi's strength, it was naturally easy for him to deal with these people. How can I trouble Sir Tai for such a vulgar matter? Xiao Zhao said with shame. He did not expect that such a matter would disturb someone like Li Zongjiu. According to the young mistress, Li Zongjiu's status had already risen to the same level as the Song family head. Hence, how could Xiao Zhao dare to trouble Li Zongjiu's subordinates with such a matter? You don't have to say such nonsense. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. You damn fatty, I'll give you a chance. Tell me the mastermind behind this, and bring me to him. Then, I'll let you go. Li Zongjiu said. Sang Biao heard this, and was instantly energized. When Sang Biao woke up, he realized that he had been tied up. It had always been him, Sang Biao, who tied people up. Since when was it anyone else's turn to tie him up? A warrior would rather be killed than humiliated. On the spot, Sang Biao stared deadly at Li Zongjiu. Kid, don't think that you can do whatever you want in Royal City, just because you have some skills. If you dare to touch me, Sang Biao, I'll call a few hundred of my brothers to chop you to death. Sang Biao roared. His aura sounded real. If not for the fact that this guy was tied up, one would think that Sang Biao was invincible. Slap! Li Zongjiu slapped Sang Biao's face across the air. Instantly, Sang Biao's face flushed red. Because his face was fat to begin with, he did not react to the slap at all. The only thing that could be seen was that his face was slightly swollen. How dare you hit me? How dare you fucking hit me? Sang Biao used to be an extremely ruthless person. Later on, because of his ruthlessness, he became the boss. Then he no longer needed to fight, and his living conditions improved. Hence, he gradually grew into his current chubby appearance. However, his ferocious character was getting more and more arrogant by the day. Slap. Another slap landed directly on Sang Biao's face. This time around, a tooth flew out. Most importantly, this slap landed on the same spot. Sang Biao's heart was in so much pain. If you still refuse to speak, I'll have no choice but to kill you. Li Zongjio did not have much patience. Immediately, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the stone hammer across the air. In Sang Biao's eyes, this ability to grab things across the air was way too amazing. Speaking of experts, Sang Biao had seen his fair share of them. However, looking at Li Zongjio's various methods, he knew that they were not as simple as they seemed. If he continued to endure, then the one who would die would be him. Don't. Sir, I was wrong. I'll speak. Li Zongjio had yet to hammer down, and Sang Biao was already begging for mercy. He was just short of kneeling on the ground and kowtowing to Li Zongjio to admit his mistake. It's the crocodile gang. It's the leader of the crocodile gang who told us to do this. Our casino is also under the control of the crocodile gang. As for the other things, I really don't know. Sang Biao closed his eyes and shouted loudly. He was afraid that the hammer would land on his head. If that happened, wouldn't his head be as big as a watermelon? Crocodile gang? Li Zongjio controlled the stone hammer, and with a bang, it landed on Sang Biao's feet. Sang Biao immediately burst into tears. Previously, Li Zongjio had never heard of the crocodile gang. There was the Green Dragon gang, but the Green Dragon gang had already been wiped out by Li Zongjio. Where did this crocodile gang come from? They were causing trouble here, and even did such illegal things. If Li Zongjio saw them, he would definitely teach them a lesson. I'll leave the matters of these gangs to Tai-Fi. Li Zongjio didn't have that much time. In the past, he didn't have any subordinates, so he had to do everything himself. But now it was different. Li Zongjio immediately used the 1,000-mile sound transmission. This 1,000-mile sound transmission was a yuan-chi item that could communicate across space. However, the range was quite limited. Li Zongjio glanced at it. Coincidentally, Tai-Fi wasn't too far away. The 1,000-mile sound transmission quickly conveyed Li Zongjio's words. At this moment, Tai-Fi was having a headache calculating the accounts. Suddenly, he heard Li Zongjio calling for him. Li Zongjio also asked him to bring more people to deal with the matter. He immediately tensed up. Bring more people? How many people do you want? Tai-Fi frowned. Then, he immediately issued an order for the people nearby to rush to the location that Li Zongjio had mentioned. As for the number of people, there were at least 1,000. The main experts were also brought over from Boyu Casino. Coincidentally, the casino wasn't open during the day. Instantly, this large group of people rushed to Li Zongjio's location. Chapter 703. Brat, so what if you know? Do you dare to touch the crocodile gang? This is between us and them. It has nothing to do with you. If you let us go now. Slap. Li Zongjio slapped him in the face, and he finally calmed down a little. At this moment, Xiao Zhao also lifted his skirt and went forward. Young Master Li, the crocodile gang is big, and there are people behind them. I will report this matter to Mississippi. Why don't young Master Li leave first? Xiao Zhao was also worried that Li Zongjio would be implicated. Although he knew that Li Zongjio was powerful, so powerful that even Han Wuxia had to kneel down before him. These people were after all people of the Jianghu. If they fought, it would be a life-and-death battle. He couldn't let his guard down. He must be careful. What's more, this was Xiao Zhao's family matter. How could he let Li Zongjio take the blame for this matter? This made Xiao Zhao feel even more apologetic in her heart. It's okay, just wait for a while. It took less than 10 minutes. Someone had already arrived in front of Li Zongjio. Young master. Li Zongjio didn't know these people, But Tai did a good job of popularizing people. Everyone knew Li Zongjio and knew who their real boss was. Young master, we're late. After waiting for a while, Tai also quickly arrived with his men. Up until now, the people that Tai had brought had already filled up several streets in the surrounding area. Those who were able to enter this small courtyard and meet Li Zongjio were all people with some status. The rest of the underlings could only wait outside. These people were very unique when they waited. They all had their own matters to attend to, and looked no different from people who were just strolling around. The Holy Flame Royal City abhorred violence to the core. If anyone were to use force in the city, or if there were any violent incidents, they would be treated with great importance. No one would be able to escape. At the very least, they would have to pay some compensation. That was why these people had such a disguise, which was extremely convenient and fast. You're here. This guy's boss is from the Crocodile Gang. He wants to deal with my friend. Do as you see fit. Li Zongjio pointed at the trussed-up Sang Biao. At this moment, there were two other people who were squatting beside Sang Biao in jealousy and grievance. The scene before them was enough to scare them silly. They weren't familiar with Tai, but the 5 people behind Tai were the street bullies of the nearby 5 streets. The whole street was under their care, and all the shops could open smoothly. The punks from outside couldn't get a word in here. Now these 5 bosses were standing respectfully behind Tai. As for that Tai, he was extremely humble in front of Li Zongjio. This was the most shocking part. Just which family did this Li Zongjio belong to? He actually had such power. One must know that Sang Biao's position was at most one of the leaders under the 5 big shots. Any one of these 5 bosses could be compared to the Crocodile Gang's leader. You guys have some guts. How dare you cause trouble in my Tai's territory? Tai said coldly as he came in front of Sang Biao and the other 2. Tai. When the 3 of them heard Tai's name, their eyes widened. It was as though they had seen a dead person come back to life. It was the kind of shock that belonged to them. It really was Tai. Currently in this Holy Flame Royal City, as long as one was in the underworld, who did not know of this Tai's name. This Tai could be said to have used ruthless means to unify all the underground forces and become part of the sacred Flame Royal City's underground world. Tai basically monopolized half of it. There was no one who could go against him. Moreover, Tai was also very smart. He didn't directly take down the other half. Instead, he chased all the mixed forces of the tribes into the remaining half. Once someone wanted to rule over this half, Tai would naturally jump out and stop this peaceful and stable situation. It could be said that the underground forces were basically under the control of Tai. It was not easy for a person to be able to reach this level and live until now. People like Sang Biao were basically local hooligans. When would they have the chance to meet Tai? You are Tai. The 3 of them were already stuttering to the point that they couldn't speak. Take them away. The 2 of you, bring the leader of the Crocodile Gang to me. Tai pointed at the 2 of them. These 2 people were in charge of the streets that often dealt with the Crocodile Gang. Therefore, they were naturally familiar with the situation of the Crocodile Gang. At this moment, after receiving the order, they immediately cupped their hands and left. If you have any problems in the future, just tell him directly. This is my friend Xiao Zhao. Li Zongjio said to Tai. Tai immediately bowed to Xiao Zhao. If Miss Xiao Zhao has any problems, just let me know. Tai said. Lord Tai, I can't accept this. Xiao Zhao quickly said. She was just an assistant by Song Jiyu's side. How could she accept Tai's bow? Such politeness naturally made Xiao Zhao unable to accept it. She quickly helped Tai up. Then I'll take my leave first. This matter must be handled properly, Li Zongjio said to Tai. Tai naturally patted his chest and promised that he would definitely find the real culprit behind this matter. This kind of matter could not be easily covered up. Even Li Zongjio personally came forward. Naturally, this matter must be resolved thoroughly. When Li Zongjio came out, those who were originally idle also bowed to Li Zongjio. Those who did not know would have thought that Emperor Xingyan was out in disguise. In order to avoid more disturbances and sensations, Li Zongjio's figure flashed and disappeared from the street. Many people were fortunate enough to see the true face of their young master. They felt that it was an extremely fortunate thing. As for those who did not see it, they could only feel annoyed. Their young master was truly a legendary figure. As for how legendary he was, that was something only he himself knew. In the city, at the Four Seas Inn, this inn was prominent and famous in the Jianghu. It had once received many extremely famous chivalrous people in the Jianghu. At this moment, a few people walked into the inn. One of them was an old man who only had one arm, which attracted a lot of attention. When the diners in the lobby saw them, they put down their chopsticks. From the aura of these people, it seemed that they were not to be trifled with. "Sirs, please come upstairs. Please come upstairs." When the shopkeeper of the Four Seasons saw them, he immediately invited them upstairs. Chapter 704. Those who came to the Four Seas Inn were Xiao Yuan, and the others from the Xianyuan sect. After leaving the Mirror Moon Villa, the group of people arrived at the city. The kill order has already been issued. Li Zongjiu killed my sect's disciple Tianfei. Just this reason alone is enough for Li Zongjiu to die a tragic death. Oh right, why hasn't Qin Liang come back yet? How long has it been? Gong Changhe couldn't help but have a bad premonition. Could there have been some kind of accident? Tianfei's death was the only way to go about his plan. Otherwise, everything would have been in vain. If the fact that Qin Liang went to kill Tianfei was exposed, it might affect Gong Changhe. However, Gong Changhe didn't care about this. Even if they were exposed, it would have nothing to do with Gong Changhe. Everything would be due to Qin Liang's own initiative. He could even say that Qin Liang was blinded by greed. When the time came, he could just kill Qin Liang. The only thing he was worried about was that Tianfei would escape, and the crime that could kill Li Zongjiu would be gone. This was what Gong Changhe was worried about. Don't worry. With Qin Liang's understanding of Tianfei, there won't be a problem. A disciple said. The relationship between the two of them was pretty good. However, it was unexpected that Qin Liang was the first one who wanted to kill Tianfei. Therefore, these brothers who seemed to be on good terms with each other were only on good terms with each other now. If you suddenly lost your power, what awaited you would be endless, and the most thorough way to kick you when you are down. Go and find out who Li Zongjiu is. Elder Xiao Yuan said. A disciple immediately stood up and replied. This disciple was responsible for collecting information on normal days. He naturally had his own way of collecting information. Li Zongjiu? You want to find trouble with Li Zongjiu? I can help you. The door of Xiao Yuan's room was suddenly pushed open by someone. Seeing someone walk in, everyone in the room became nervous. He stared at the newcomer with a murderous look in his eyes. Could it be that Li Zongjiu was so powerful in the city that Li Zongjiu's men could be seen everywhere he went? The ninth prince Xianming walked in, followed by Han Shuang and Han Shui. His expression was ice cold, but there was a different kind of charm to it. It caused one's heart to be involuntarily moved when looking at him. Gong Changhe's eyes first fell on the two maids, but he hid his gaze very well and didn't reveal it in front of the crowd. You are? Elder Xiao Yuan said. The newcomer had an untamed temperament. Moreover, there was a strong innate feeling that caused Elder Xiao Yuan to raise his eyebrows. This person's identity was definitely extraordinary. I am Xianming, the ninth prince said slowly. As soon as they heard this name, Xiao Yuan and the others instantly came to an understanding. They widened their eyes and looked at the man in front of them. They didn't expect him to be the ninth prince of the Shengyan dynasty, His Highness Xianming. The reason why the Xianyuan sect came in person was because of the royal family behind Princess Jinggan. Once the Xianyuan sect and the Shengyan dynasty had a marriage alliance, the situation would be like the sun in the sky. It was just that it wasn't so easy for him to succeed. Therefore they needed this opportunity. The opportunity was Master Jingyue. If Master Jingyue was the one to speak, the success rate would obviously be higher. The Xianyuan sect might not be on the same level as the Shengyan dynasty. Now the ninth prince took the initiative to come to them for cooperation. If it was before, the Xianyuan sect and the others might have considered it. After all, the status of a prince and a princess was different. If the prince got involved, There might be some problems when competing for the throne in the future. If they stood on the wrong side, it would have a great impact on them. Therefore, it was necessary to assess the situation carefully. However, it was different now. Originally, Xiao Yuan and the others hated Li Zhongjiu to the core. As long as they could kill Li Zhongjiu at any cost, it would be worth it for them. So it's His Highness Xian Ming. Please come in. It's fate for us to meet here. Xiao Yuan's face immediately revealed a smile. After all, he was the principal elder. He had a lot of experience in dealing with these people. It was necessary to use such means to deal with them. Regardless of whether they would cooperate or not, they couldn't afford to offend them. The Xianyuan sect wants to deal with Li Zhongjiu? Do you have any conflicts with Li Zhongjiu? The ninth prince said. The faces of Xianyuan Zong and the rest changed. At first, they thought that Peng Qiao was the only one who had encountered the ninth prince. But now, it seemed like the ninth prince had come knocking on their door directly. It seemed like the ninth prince had already investigated their background thoroughly. Xiao Yuan and the others thought about it carefully and didn't think much of it. After all, this was the sacred Flame Royal City. In addition, although they kept a low profile this time, they did not hide anything. Therefore, some of the movements when they came were seen by some forces. The smiles on the faces of Xiao Yuan and the others gradually faded. Then, Xiao Yuan's eyes were filled with righteous indignation. His eyes were filled with anger and resentment towards Li Zhongjiu. It seemed like he hated Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu plotted to kill our sect's disciples. If we don't kill him, where will the dignity of our Xianyuan sect go? An indescribable rage and grief immediately surfaced on the faces of Xiao Yuan and the rest. To them, this was a great humiliation, and they had to use Li Zhongjiu's blood to wash away this humiliation. Li Zhongjiu dared to kill your Xianyuan sect's disciples? The ninth prince had never expected Li Zhongjiu to be so bold. This was great news for the ninth prince. Of course, he couldn't show it on the surface. Otherwise, it would be too much. At the same time, the ninth prince's face was also filled with grief. Li Zhongjiu is so arrogant and despotic. He must have someone backing him. Now that I've found out that Li Zhongjiu's family is in Wuxia City, we must first control Li Zhongjiu's family, if we want to kill such a demon. The ninth prince said slowly, and then looked at Xiao Yuan. As a righteous sect, our mystic Yuan sect will definitely not do something like exterminating the entire sect. Xiao Yuan said in a deep voice. However, the ninth prince's expression didn't change much. He seemed to be waiting for Xiao Yuan to continue. However, our Xianyuan sect has the obligation to eliminate the demon sect that such a demon belongs to. Chapter 705. During his cultivation, Li Zhongjiu also discovered that using the power of the desolate heaven essence to temper his body was a pretty good cultivation method. He had yet to make any progress with the ancient golden tyrant body technique. Furthermore, the desolate heaven essence could also temper his mental strength to a certain extent. With this discovery, Li Zhongjiu's cultivation speed increased by leaps and bounds. Li Zhongjiu used his mind to control the desolate heaven essence to hammer his body. Boom! The power of the desolate heaven essence had existed since ancient times. All of a sudden, it smashed into Li Zhongjiu's body, causing a terrifying force to surge into his body. Boom! If the power in Li Zhongjiu's body was like a mountain, then this strike would have directly smashed Li Zhongjiu's body into smithereens. Pwah! Even Li Zhongjiu could not hold back, and spat out a mouthful of blood. He never expected that Li Zhongjiu, who had not bled for a long time, would actually spit out blood from his attack. Ah no, this power is too strong. Li Zhongjiu took a long time to slowly get up by supporting himself against the wall. This strike had nearly shattered his body. Although the effect was not bad, the power was too great. If he was not careful, Li Zhongjiu's body would have been smashed to smithereens. How could Li Zhongjiu dare to take such a risk? It could even be said that if he was careless and made a mistake, Li Zhongjiu's life could be taken. He still had no way of controlling the desolate heaven essence, so he would have to wait until he could control it. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu put away the desolate heaven essence. It was no wonder that the strike from before was able to shatter a person's yuan bead. According to this logic, the yuan bead's hardness should be even tougher than any other part of one's body. Even if one's body was crippled by this rod, one's yuan bead should still be as tough as ever. However, after personally experiencing the power of the desolate heaven essence, Li Zhongjiu also understood why it was able to destroy the yuan beads of others. The stronger your body is, the stronger the power of the desolate heaven essence will be. That was why Li Zhongjiu's stick had such a terrifying effect when it hit his body. Young master, are you alright? Why do I hear you vomiting blood? Yinghu came to Li Zhongjiu's practice room and knocked on the door. Ever since Yinghu broke through, he had become even more elusive in this courtyard. Originally, Yinghu's qinggong was not bad. Now that he was a yuan monarch, coupled with the doppelganger technique taught by Li Zhongjiu, Yinghu's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Ahem, I'm fine. Li Zhongjiu stood up. How could he embarrass himself in front of his subordinates? Li Zhongjiu had never embarrassed himself in front of an outsider before. Young master, there's someone called Tian Fei outside. He says he wants to seek refuge with you. Should I let him in? Yinghu shouted from outside the door. Tian Fei. Li Zhongjiu recalled the kid whose yuan bead had been shattered. Hadn't he already given this kid a way out? He had been waiting for this kid to go into hibernation and grow into a great demon king, so that this kid could deal with the mystic yuan sect? Why had he come to his place? Li Zhongjiu's actions of letting a tiger return to the mountains was foolish. In fact, he was the foolish one. Such a person was not qualified to be called a tiger in front of Li Zhongjiu. He was at most a fly, or at least a little bigger than a mosquito. Therefore, it could be said that Li Zhongjiu didn't care at all. He just wanted to make this world a little more exciting and interesting. Tian Fei was thrown here because his talent was destroyed. He was even abandoned in the end. They wanted to use Tian Fei's death in exchange for a legitimate reason to issue a kill order to kill Li Zhongjiu. Tian Fei would naturally choose to explode after being treated like this. No one would be willing to endure such humiliation. Moreover, Tian Fei was already a dead man. The mystic yuan sect would not let Tian Fei continue to live. Once the junior sect leader knew that Tian Fei was still alive, he would use even more cruel and ruthless means to kill Tian Fei. There was no doubt about this. Therefore, Tian Fei's future path was to become stronger as he fled. In the end, whether or not Tian Fei could break out of the encirclement and survive would depend on his own ability. But now he actually came here. What was this kid trying to do? Seek refuge with me? Then let him in. Let's see what this kid has to say, Li Zhongjiu said. Then he tidied up and went out. The Howling Moon Wolf King had already been abducted by Do Ling. Now Do Ling spent almost every day in the casino. This brat was truly a complete coward. After a little coercion and enticement, he immediately betrayed Li Zhongjiu and left with another woman. But fortunately Do Ling would come back to sleep at night. She could not possibly sleep in the casino all day long. As for whether Do Ling was hurt outside, there was no need to worry. He only needed to worry about whether Do Ling would hurt others outside. Moreover, Do Ling had Du Liani by her side. Basically, there would be no problem. In the hall, Tian Fei knelt down on one knee in front of Li Zhongjiu. Didn't I let you live? What are you doing here? Li Zhongjiu looked at Tian Fei and said, Tian Fei is here to seek refuge with you. I am willing to help you fight against the mystic yuan sect. Tian Fei said. Yinghu, who was standing at the side, opened his mouth wide. Fuck me. What do you mean? Why do you want to fight against the mystic yuan sect? Young master, when did we offend the mystic yuan sect? Yinghu had been in the underworld for a long time. Naturally, he knew the strength of the mystic yuan sect. Even among all the forces in the world, the mystic yuan sect was one of the top powerhouses in the underworld. In the entire Shengyan dynasty, the mystic yuan sect was not some local expert. This was a dynasty-level force. If you offended such an expert, they could easily hunt you down all over the world. This is the disciple of the mystic yuan sect. I just chopped off one of their elders' hands and snatched one of their elixirs. Of course, they would not let me go. Li Zhongjiu said very naturally. It was as if these things were normal for him. He said very calmly, "What? Young master, you chopped off one of their elders' hands? Whose hand did you chop off?" "I don't know his name, but he only has one arm. Don't you think it's funny?" When Yinghu heard this, he immediately felt his legs go soft. In the mystic Yuan sect, there was a famous one-armed elder. One-armed Xiao Yuan, primitive emperor realm expert. "You, how long have you been out?" "You chopped off the arm of an primitive emperor realm expert. And it was the only one." "It's Elder Xiao Yuan," Tian Fei said. Shadow Fox almost succumbed to his asthma and fainted on the spot, unable to breathe properly. Chapter 706. Since you want to seek refuge, you can stay here. Your task in the future is to watch over the people in the stable. Li Zongjio recalled that there was another person in his courtyard. Since he was a Yuan monarch elite, he naturally had to hire an expert to watch over him. Although Lu Wenshan had been living quite comfortably in Li Zongjio's residence recently, Li Zongjio's residence was still a little strange. He could also use some elixir pills in exchange for a more comfortable life. Now there was a bed in the small stable. In addition, Lu Wenshan's daily job was to brush the red mane horse clean and feed it until it was full. Tian Fei had not expected Li Zongjio to agree so quickly. Was he not afraid that Tian Fei would do something else? He was too confident in Tian Fei's safety. Then, Yinghu brought Tian Fei to the stable. When Tian Fei saw the person living in the stable, he felt suffocated. For some reason, he felt a sense of suffocation. It was obvious that the strength of the person in front of him was even greater than his own. Although Lu Wenshan was now a prisoner, he was still a powerhouse who was about to break through and become a grade 6 alchemist. His mind power was extremely powerful. "Who is this?" Lu Wenshan asked Yinghu. In this entire courtyard, Yinghu was the real housekeeper. Everything was handled by Yinghu. Because there was no one else, Lu Wenshan tried his best to curry favor with Yinghu. "You two can get to know each other. You can stay with him in the future. There are no other rooms here. His task is to watch over you. Don't worry." Yinghu waved his hand and said. Although Lu Wenshan did not know the person in front of him, he knew that the young man in front of him was a Yuan monarch elite. Such a young Yuan monarch elite was naturally talented and strong. However, how did such a genius end up living in a stable? "I am Tian Fei. How should I address you, senior?" Tian Fei cupped his hands and said. He could tell at a glance that Lu Wenshan was strong. He had not expected that the person living in Li Zongjio's stable was also a peerless expert. Spirit Valley sect Lu Wenshan. Finally, there was an outsider. Lu Wenshan immediately said arrogantly. With his reputation as an elder of Spirit Valley sect, many people would have heard of him. True enough. When Tian Fei heard Lu Wenshan's name, his face immediately turned pale. Their mystic Yuan sect might not know everything that had happened in Sacred Flame Royal City previously. At most, they had heard a little about it. However, they had naturally heard of Lu Wenshan's name before. "So it's an elder of Spirit Valley sect." Tian Fei bowed respectfully. Although the fighting strength of Spirit Valley sect was definitely inferior to the mystic Yuan sect, a sect like the mystic Yuan sect would definitely not dare to offend an alchemy sect like Spirit Valley sect. Once they were offended, the alchemy sect would go all out to help the mystic Yuan sect's enemy. That would be a heavy blow to the mystic Yuan sect. Even if the mystic Yuan sect was not destroyed, it would be quite difficult for them. "What sect are you from? Why are you here?" Lu Wenshan asked. Speaking of this, Tian Fei's eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life. Although he was young, everything that he had experienced was still too tragic for him. Tian Fei immediately recounted his experience to Lu Wenshan. After all, Lu Wenshan was also an experienced person. After comforting Tian Fei, he also expressed his approval of Tian Fei's enlightenment. Only when one's strength is strong, that's true strength. Previously, he hoped to rely on the strength of this sect to save himself. In the end, he was quite miserable. However, Lu Wenshan relied on his own strength to survive here, and had a good life. Most importantly, Lu Wenshan was still alive. Everything was to save himself. As long as he was alive, there was hope. Then work hard here. There will be a day when you succeed. Oh right, as an old man here, I have to remind you. In this courtyard, other than Li Zongjio, you have to be extra careful of another young girl. This girl's strength is unfathomable. When she is irritable, she has unstoppable violence. Lu Wenshan said in a deep voice. Tianfei nodded. Tianfei also nodded in understanding. Even the calm and experienced Lu Wenshan could not help but show a trace of fear and lingering fear on his face. It was as if he had experienced an indescribable horror. Tianfei, who had just joined, could not help but feel a little nervous. However, even in the stable of Li Zongjio's family, the person who lived there was a peerless expert. This was really too shocking for Tianfei. Shouldn't such an expert be provided with the best food, accommodation and service? It was really hard to imagine that such an expert would be reduced to living in a stable. No, I have to remind Li Zongjio. Young master, the Xianyuan sect is very likely to attack his family. Tianfei was very familiar with the tricks of the Xianyuan sect. In fact, Tianfei did not hate Li Zongjio. After all, they were on the opposite side at that time. Moreover, although his origin pearl was broken, the other two had also repaired it. Instead, it was Li Zongjio who made Tianfei recognize the group of people around him. At the same time, it made Tianfei determine his own path. Who else in the world could do this to such an extent? Naturally, there was no need to hate such an expert. What made Tianfei most angry, and hated the most, was the people of the Xianyuan sect. Only by killing Gong Changhe could he vent the hatred in his heart. Lord Yinghu, I have something to report. Tianfei found Yinghu, who was fishing. If you have something to say, just say it. What's there to report? Yinghu shook the fishing rod in his hand, and the fish that was about to take the bait was scared away. Yinghu hurriedly went forward to report this matter to Yinghu. Yinghu immediately put down the fishing rod and went to look for Li Zongjio. The people of the Xianyuan sect are so shameless. After listening to this information, Li Zongjio suddenly frowned. Although the Wuxia city was under the protection of the Thousand-Horse City, the Thousand-Horse City might not be able to withstand the Xianyuan sect with their strength. Therefore, if he wanted to solve this matter, he must do it as soon as possible. A group of people who are courting death. Li Zongjio's eyes were filled with cold light. Since these people wanted to deal with the people of the Wuxia city, he naturally could not let them go back alive. Just when Li Zongjio was about to set out to find these people and kill them, but he found that there was another visitor. And this time, the visitor could be said to have been waiting for Li Zongjio. It was so hard to wait. You stinking brat, I've finally found you. The library elder rushed in and almost strangled Li Zongjio to death. Chapter 707. The person who came was none other than the guardian elder of the library, who had been waiting for Li Zongjio in the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Now the half-year deadline was just around the corner. If the scorpion poison in his body was not removed, it would definitely have a great impact. Therefore, during this period, the elder had been desperately searching for the medicinal herbs that Li Zongjio needed. It was not easy to gather them, but he found that Li Zongjio was in the secret realm. Now, he could not find Li Zongjio no matter how hard he tried. He could only wait outside bitterly. Oh, it's you. It's been half a year already. Li Zongjio frowned. Time really passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, the time was up. Look at how anxious this old man was. It's just a small scorpion. Look at your cowardly face. Li Zongjio said disdainfully. Have you prepared the things I asked for? When the elder heard this, he wanted to slap him. What did he mean by a small scorpion? If it were not for this scorpion, he would not have to suffer the pain of his cultivation falling. Of course, it's all here. The medicinal pills on your prescription are all a mess. Speaking of these medicinal herbs, this old man could be said to be extremely annoyed. He had to run all over the Xingyan dynasty. God knows how many grandfathers and grandmothers he had to beg before he could gather these medicinal herbs. Now that he thought about it, the price he had to pay to get these medicinal herbs was quite high. These are all good things. What do you know? Li Zongjio took the storage ring that the elder handed over. After checking it, he found that the medicinal herbs were indeed complete. In this way, he could start preparing to refine the Longevity Myriad Origin pill. A pill that could increase his cultivation for many years and increase his cultivation base. Just the 6 grade 6 medicinal herbs in his hand were already very precious. To be able to finish them in half a year, this old man was quite capable. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so efficient. You've got the herbs. Now tell me, how are you going to detoxify me? Until now, the old man still didn't know if Li Zongjie was reliable or not, or if he could cure him. If Li Zongjie couldn't do it, then he would definitely beat this guy to death without hesitation. Follow me. Li Zongjie led the old man into the training room. The training room itself had been reinforced, so that if there was a breakthrough, some of the wantonly pervasive aura would be released and hurt the people around. It's finally here. I'm so excited. Brat, you have to be careful. Otherwise, I'll be sorry if I accidentally hurt you. The old man's emotions were clearly somewhat agitated. His cultivation had been sealed for nearly 10 years. Anyone would have been driven mad. Fortunately, this old man had waited for hope to arrive. Brat, the weapon in your hand looks pretty good. Where did you get it? The old man looked at the desolate heaven essence in Li Zongjie's hand, and could tell at a glance that it was extraordinary. He had already reached the Yuan Lord realm more than 10 years ago. Such strength naturally wasn't something that ordinary Yuan Lords could compare to. Li Zongjie estimated that the old man's previous cultivation should have been at the 4th, or even the 5th Yuan Lord realm. After all, it wasn't easy to survive the attack of the desolate sky scorpion. The fact that he was still alive and breathing was already proof of his strength. He had already possessed such a cultivation more than 10 years ago, but now he was trapped at the peak of the Yuan Lord realm. Naturally, he wouldn't feel good about it. What are you doing? Suddenly, he saw Li Zongjie raise the glowing stick in his hand and smash it at the old man's head. Pung! The old man immediately flipped over and fell to the ground. You're really talkative. Li Zongjie knocked the old man unconscious. Of course, this wasn't necessary. He just didn't want to listen to the old man's bullshit. Following which, Li Zongjie helped the old man up. With a bang, a stream of Yuan power was injected into the old man's body. A domineering force instantly surged out. The obsidian flame immediately burned in the old man's body. In the past, his strength had been insufficient. Even the flames had not been able to enter the old man's body, and had been blocked by the old man's own strength. Although the old man's current Yuan monarch cultivation base was only at the peak of the Yuan monarch realm, the various reactions of his body were at the level of a Yuan monarch. It wouldn't be so easy for the external Yuan power to invade his body. After knocking the old man unconscious with the stick, it would have a certain effect. Of course, the reason why he was so confident was because the desolate heaven essence was in his hands. Using the desolate heaven essence to suppress the old man would naturally have a very good effect. Now, let's see how cunning a scorpion like you is. Li Zongjie's Yuan power wrapped around the Black Day's flame, before it directly gushed into the elder's body, and reached his Yuan bead. The elder's Yuan bead was also surrounded by this terrifying flame. Then, Li Zongjie also immersed his mental energy into it. Boom! In the next second, Li Zongjie's mental energy arrived at the Yuan Pearl. This was the old man's Yuan Pearl world. Li Zongjie's mental energy could see a tall mountain. This was the old man's Yuan Pearl. At this moment, the terrifying power that existed on top of this mountain made Li Zongjie raise his eyebrows. What a huge scorpion! From the top of the mountain, one could see an extremely huge black scorpion lying on top of it. Staring at such a terrifying power, Yi Zichen sighed. It was the power of this black scorpion that was suppressing the old man's Yuan Pearl. A large portion of the power was being restrained by this scorpion. Desolate sky scorpion, let me have a taste of your moves. Li Zongjie stretched out his hand, and the desolate heaven essence appeared in his hand. This was the benefit of refining a weapon. One could take it out and use it at any time and place. Using such power in one's hands, Li Zongjie was also extremely powerful. The desolate heaven essence emitted a terrifying light. Boom! It transformed into a force of 10,000 feet and smashed towards the desolate sky scorpion. As long as the desolate sky scorpion was destroyed, the poison would be eliminated. The obsidian flame wrapped around the desolate heaven essence. It smashed towards the desolate sky scorpion. The great desolate sky scorpion was greedily absorbing the energy of the Yuan Force mountain below. Suddenly it sensed someone charging towards it. Naturally, it was infuriated when it sensed such a terrifying aura. The desolate sky scorpion also raised its pincers. Boom! When the desolate heaven essence collided with the desolate sky scorpion, there was a terrifying explosion. The desolate sky scorpion's pincers were sliced apart. However, the desolate heaven essence was also blasted away. Not good. When the desolate heaven essence was blasted away, Li Zhongjiu sensed that something was wrong. The desolate sky scorpion was also at the Origin Emperor realm, a rank 6 Yuan beast. The strength of such a Yuan beast was naturally not weak. It seized the opportunity to grab Li Zhongjiu with its pincers. The powerful move was released and separated the distance of a few hundred meters, clamping Li Zhongjiu between its pincers. Crack! Li Zhongjiu immediately felt that his body was about to be crushed. However, the golden dragon Yuan spirit also took the initiative to appear. It allowed Li Zhongjiu to release golden light from his body, blocking the attack and preventing Li Zhongjiu from being crushed into two. How arrogant! Are you trying to crush me to death? Li Zhongjiu's eyes were filled with coldness. He immediately raised his hand and slammed down. It shattered a small portion of the desolate sky scorpion's pincers. Break! Another punch landed right in the middle of the room. It contained Li Zhongjiu's Yuan Qi and the power of the golden dragon Yuan spirit, shattering the desolate sky scorpion's pincers. Boom! The moment Li Zhongjiu smashed the pincers, suddenly, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. It was the desolate sky scorpion's poisonous tail. Boom! Chapter 708. The poisonous stinger was extremely powerful. If Li Zhongjiu was hit, his mental energy would be contaminated by the prehistoric sky scorpion's poison. However, when the poisonous stinger appeared in front of Li Zhongjiu seemed to have nowhere to run. At this moment, the black dragon soul was released from his body. A majestic roar resounded in the sky like thunder. Boom! A huge black dragon drilled out of Li Zhongjiu's body and grabbed the scorpion's tail with its claws. With a roar, it shattered the scorpion's tail. Bang! The appearance of the black dragon soul was truly shocking to Li Zhongjiu, because this fellow seemed to have appeared by itself. This made Li Zhongjiu turn serious. This wasn't a good thing. He didn't expect this thing to have been hiding in his body all this time, hibernating until now. However, the black dragon origin dragon appeared because Li Zhongjiu was in danger. No, this black dragon soul seems to be in a state of automatic protection. Li Zhongjiu looked at the black dragon origin spirit that had rushed out of his body. It was wildly beating up the prehistoric sky scorpion in front of it. The fierce battle made Li Zhongjiu shudder with fear. This kid is really fierce when he fights. The black dragon origin spirit was indeed the king of this battle. With a flip, it tore the prehistoric sky scorpion into pieces. In just a short moment, the black dragon origin spirit had already stepped on the prehistoric sky scorpion. The arrogant attitude of an expert made the prehistoric sky scorpion tremble. The prehistoric sky scorpion struggled for a while before it was devoured by the black dragon origin spirit. Then, the black dragon origin spirit whistled and flew back into Li Zhongjiu's body. Boom! Seeing the black dragon origin spirit disappear, Li Zhongjiu also found that these things had been done. The black day's flame appeared once again, and gradually removed the remaining poison on the Yuan bead. However, before Li Zhongjiu could make a move, he suddenly sensed a powerful energy that seemed to be directly erupting from the Yuan bead. Not good. Li Zhongjiu hurriedly withdrew his mental power from the old man's body. If this power were to spread out, it would directly shatter Li Zhongjiu's mental power. So, Li Zhongjiu's mind power returned to its original position. After opening his eyes, Li Zhongjiu dashed out of the door without a word. Boom! A loud noise erupted from Li Zhongjiu's house. Li Zhongjiu's figure landed on the ground. That shocking shockwave was about to send Li Zhongjiu flying. However, it was only a remnant shockwave after all. After a slight adjustment, Li Zongjiu unleashed his yuan power and blocked the shockwave in front of him. Otherwise, just this shockwave alone would be enough to destroy the entire courtyard. Boom! All the power was directed towards the sky by Li Zongjiu. In the stable, Tian Fei and Lu Wenshan suddenly felt a tyrannical shock wave in front of them. Because the distance wasn't very far, and the aura was gradually getting stronger, this was clearly the shock wave of an Origin Emperor expert. There's an Origin Emperor expert? Could it be that Li Zongjiu has broken through to the Origin Emperor level? Lu Wenshan's face was full of shock and astonishment. Seeing this scene, he was also guessing in his heart. Origin Emperor expert? Tian Fei's face was also full of shock. What kind of crouching tiger and hidden dragon was Li Zongjiu? Even in the Mystic Yuan sect, the number of Origin Emperor experts was definitely not many. Every Origin Emperor expert was almost priceless and had a high status. In the Mystic Yuan sect, if one's cultivation had broken through to the Origin Emperor realm, he would basically not have to worry for the rest of his life. As long as he did not betray the sect, he could do whatever he wanted. There was a great tolerance for Origin Emperor experts. Even in a sect, as long as there was an Origin Emperor expert alive, they could make a comeback. Even the other sects and forces would not go too far. If an Origin Emperor expert went crazy, the lethality and destructive power he could cause was extremely terrifying. Now in this small manner, there was also an primitive Emperor powerhouse, which was really shocking. Yinghu also hurried to Li Zongjiu's courtyard. Seeing the scene in front of him, he was extremely shocked. How could there be an Origin Emperor expert? Could it be that the old man just now had such a powerful ability? Ha ha ha, I Nangong Wuji am back. An incomparably savage laughter suddenly resounded through the sky. When many people in the city heard this voice, they directly scolded him for being a lunatic, making a ruckus in broad daylight. What else could he be if he was not a lunatic? However, many people were stunned when they heard the name mentioned by the voice. Who did you say? Who's back? Nangong Wuji. He's really back. Yes, that's what that person said. Oh no, this is not good. This Nangong Wuji, oh no. Some people seemed to know the whole story. When they heard the name, they were already very surprised. When they found out that the person who had returned was really Nangong Wuji, their expressions changed. This time, there would be a storm gathering in Sacred Flame Royal City, White Deer Manor. As the terrifying power in Nangong Wuji's body surged again, Nangong Wuji also felt a kind of power that he had not felt for a long time. Li, you helped me detoxify. This old man owes you a favor. Nangong Wuji's figure appeared in front of Li Zongjiu. Now that Nangong Wuji had recovered to the Origin Emperor realm, although his cultivation had not yet returned to its peak state, he was already quite strong. At least there was hope for him to continue on the path of becoming an Origin Emperor. Don't be so pretentious. You won't die. Li Zongjiu looked at the old man in front of him and said. Why did he feel that the old man was floating in the sky after breaking through his current realm? Pretentious? You don't know how powerful I am now. I don't need to be pretentious. Nangong Wuji said indifferently. Those who did not know him would really think that Nangong Wuji was very powerful. Li Zongjiu waved his hand casually. All right. You are so powerful. Go and take a look at your library. Li Zongjiu said. This time, Nangong Wuji did not agree. You are trying to stir up trouble. Hee. I know that you have some tricks up your sleeve, but you have miscalculated if you want to fight with me now. Nangong Wuji's confidence was greatly boosted at this moment. In addition, Li Zongjiu always acted so arrogant, as if he did not put a peerless expert in his eyes. Even if Li Zongjiu saved him, he still wanted to teach Li Zongjiu a lesson. He wanted to let Li Zongjiu know what it meant to be low-key. Oh! Li Zongjiu looked at Nangong Wuji with a faint smile. Chapter 709. Today in return, I will teach you a lesson. Don't worry, it's completely free of charge. I won't charge you anything. With that, Nangong Wuji placed one hand behind his back and stretched out his other hand. A terrifying yuan power gathered in the center of his palm. It seemed like a casual wave of his hand could attract all the yuan power within 100 miles. Buzz! Yuan power suddenly gathered in front of Nangong Wuji. Boom! The yuan power in front of Nangong Wuji surged out like a raging dragon. It rushed straight towards Li Zongjio. Whoosh! Li Zongjio stood still and did not dodge. However, Nangong Wuji did not hold back at all. He was determined to make Li Zongjio suffer a little. You're just using an old trick from hundreds of years ago. Li Zongjio's words were full of contempt. However, Nangong Wuji thought that Li Zongjio was just trying to win with his tongue. As long as he caught Li Zongjio and gave him a good beating, he would become obedient. Boom! Li Zongjio slashed out with an object in his hand and instantly dispersed the yuan power in front of him. The yuan power released by Nangong Wuji was forcibly dispersed at this moment. Crash! How dare you break my yuan power? When Nangong Wuji looked at Li Zongjio, he frowned. The strength that Li Zongjio displayed at this moment had surprised Nangong Wuji. Not only will I break your yuan power, but I will also break your legs. Li Zongjio swung the Desolate Heaven Essence in his hand, and the power of the Desolate Heaven Essence immediately swept out. Boom! The power of the Desolate Heaven Essence was like the terrifying power that erupted from the vast mountain range. It rushed towards Nangong Wuji with a terrifying hurricane. Nangong Wuji, on the other hand, was a little confused in front of this power. Immediately, he could only circulate his elemental energy to defend himself. If he were to run away, it would be too humiliating for Nangong Wuji. Could it be that a dignified primitive emperor would run away from a little brat like you? Wouldn't my reputation be tarnished in the future if people knew about it? Therefore, even though Nangong Wuji was already panicking, he didn't choose to escape in the face of this move. Boom! Nangong Wuji's figure was instantly sent flying. Bang! Li Zongjio's strike was too powerful. Nangong Wuji was sent flying by the force of the collision. Nangong Wuji instantly smashed through a wall in the manner and flew out, eating a mouthful of fence-sitters. Cough cough. The corner of Nangong Wuji's mouth was overflowing with blood after he forced himself to stand up. However, he quickly wiped it clean. This time, he was in extreme pain. He felt as if all the bones in his body were going to fall apart. Others probably wouldn't be able to experience this kind of incomparably satisfying feeling. Li Zongjio put away the Desolate Heaven Essence. This time, this self-righteous and pretentious old man would probably be a little more obedient. Li Zongjio's action was to let Nangong Wuji know that he couldn't act presumptuously in front of him just because he had broken through to the primitive emperor realm. This strike could be considered to be a lesson to the old man, a knock on his head. At the same time, Li Zongjio wanted to determine the true power of the Desolate Heaven Essence. Nangong Wuji had just recovered, and his elemental energy cultivation was only at the first-grade primitive emperor realm. However, with his strength, he could easily deal with the second-grade primitive emperor. However, after Li Zongjio's strike, Nangong Wuji's situation was still very bad. There was nothing more to say. Li Zongjio also had a rough idea of how much power the Desolate Heaven Essence could produce. Brat, what kind of weapon is that in your hand? Nangong Wuji grimaced as he came in front of Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio had already put away the Desolate Heaven Essence. My weapon specializes in beating up the old and weak. Li Zongjio said faintly. Remember to fix my wall when you get back. The matter of the wall couldn't be forgotten so easily. Although Nangong Wuji was depressed in his heart, he was also slightly surprised. Could it be that the young people nowadays were so powerful that even the primitive emperor could be easily defeated? It's just a wall. If this old man wants to, I can build a mansion in a few minutes. Nangong Wuji said. Nangong Wuji's elemental energy was of the earth attribute. Therefore, he should be quite knowledgeable when it came to building. At this moment, building a wall was naturally an extremely simple matter. However, Li Zongjio took note of Nangong Wuji's words. You said it. If that's the case, I'll leave that piece of land to you. You have to build it properly for me. Li Zongjio pointed to an open space outside the shattered wall. The open space was next to a barren mountain. It looked extremely desolate, but it was spacious enough. This piece of land looks a little familiar. You really got a piece of land? Nangong Wuji wanted to slap himself. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio would really have a piece of land? Before the house is built, don't even think about leaving. Also, don't blame me for not reminding you. With the state of your origin bead, before it completely recovers, if you still dare to act recklessly, then you can just wait for death. Li Zongjio said. It was like a crippled patient who had been bedridden for many years. If he ran like crazy after recovering, it wouldn't be long before his legs, which had just recovered, would be broken. Moreover, his legs would be completely ruined. Nangong Wuji naturally knew how much credibility Li Zongjio's words had. Therefore, Nangong Wuji wasn't too surprised after hearing Li Zongjio's words. Building a house is not something that can be done with two hands. Besides, I'm a dignified primitive emperor expert. How can I help you find a construction team? I have the formula for a grade 6 elixir. If it's refined, it can at least restore your cultivation to its peak within a year. Deal, Nangong Wuji said immediately. Nangong Wuji no longer had any doubts about Li Zongjio's ability. After all, he could easily remove the primitive sky scorpion's poison. This was enough to prove that Li Zongjio's strength wasn't ordinary. In addition, with this strange weapon, Li Zongjio could at least remain undefeated in the face of a grade 3 primitive emperor expert. It was naturally shocking that he had such terrifying talent and potential at such a young age. Without Li Zongjio's elixir, Nangong Wuji would need at least 3 to 5 years to restore his strength to its peak. Furthermore, no one knew how many heavenly treasures would be consumed during this process. However, Li Zongjio's elixir could greatly shorten the time needed for Nangong Wuji to restore his strength. This was already a miracle in itself. When such a miracle happened to Li Zongjio, Nangong Wuji was not surprised at all. The two people hiding in the stable were watching from afar. After witnessing Li Zongjio's strength, they were deeply shocked. No wonder young master could cut off Elder Xiaoyuan's arm. This is too strong. He recalled that he had wanted to defeat Li Zongjio in the Jinghua villa. Tianfei suddenly felt that he was too stupid. He wished he could slap his own mouth. It was already giving him face that he didn't kill him directly after offending such a high-level expert. At this moment, Tianfei had completely let go of his worries and kept a low profile. Although his previous strength was not bad, there were too many masters and capable people in this world. Any one of them could easily appear and take his life. Nangong Wuji. Nangong Wuji, this name. Tianfei looked at Lu Wenshan, who was beside him, and repeatedly muttered Nangong Wuji's name. Tianfei was a little surprised. Why was Lu Wenshan so frightened by the situation in front of him? Elder Lu, what's wrong with you? Tianfei couldn't help but ask. However, when he looked at Lu Wenshan, a clear fear gradually appeared in his eyes. It's him. He's back. Chapter 710. Lu Wenshan's teeth were chattering, making it hard to hear what he was saying. Tianfei listened for a long time, but he still couldn't make out what he was saying. However, he came to the conclusion that Lu Wenshan was an extraordinary person a long time ago. This was enough for him to know. This small white deer manor was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. At night, Taifai returned to White Deer Manor with a murderous aura. He mainly came to report today's matter to Li Zongjio. After a busy afternoon, he finally figured out the whole thing, after a round of torture. It turned out that it was an elder of the Song family who was behind this. This elder wanted to trip up Song Jiyu, so he started with Song Jiyu's assistant Xiao Zhao. In the end, he kicked an iron plate Li Zongjio. This time, he was directly wiped out. Now this elder was probably running away in the middle of the night. Li Zongjio's actions surprised Song Jiyu. In the past, when Li Zongjio had just risen, he was just a weak little guy. However, now, he only needed to move his fingers to force an elder of the Song family to leave. If this elder had stayed, he probably wouldn't have had a good ending. This was extremely surprising. Song Jiyu was also glad that she had a good relationship with Li Zongjio during this period of time. Well done. Li Zongjio nodded. He knew Taifai's ability to handle affairs. If not, Li Zongjio wouldn't have been able to lead Taifai until now. The ability to do things was one thing, and the ability to cultivate was another. No matter which of the two abilities you have, it will be very useful. No matter where you go, you will be able to get along very well. By the way, young master, there's a rumor in the underworld tonight, Tai-Fi said in a deep voice. When he received this news, even Tai-Fi himself was a little surprised. After all, it was just a rumor, and there was very little that could be verified. Although it hadn't been verified yet, it was still a matter of great importance. Tai-Fi couldn't help but mention this to Li Zongjio. What? I just received the news tonight. There's a must-kill order from the Jianghu, the Xianyuan sect from the Tianyuan state. The Xianyuan sect was located in the Tianyuan state. The sect's kill order. Once such an order was issued, it would definitely not rest until one of them was dead. Moreover, it was usually only used in extremely troublesome situations in order to intimidate the enemy. At the same time, it was equivalent to a bounty order. If anyone in the Jianghu killed this person, they could use this person's head to claim a huge reward from the Xianyuan sect. Therefore, once someone bore the sect's must-kill order, they would usually not be able to survive. How could one person go against the entire sect? In the end, they would usually die a very tragic death. This was the number one sect in the Tianyuan state, the Xianyuan sect. Oh. The Xianyuan sect's must-kill order? Li Zongjio laughed disdainfully when he heard this. These people are really taking it seriously. I have so many things that I haven't done yet. Could it be that these bullshits want to shit on my head? After hearing this, Li Zongjio was also quite angry. It seemed that he was still too merciful. At the Mirror Moon Villa, he shouldn't have let these people leave the mountain alive. They really thought that they were so powerful. Young master, the Xianyuan sect has issued a must-kill order. The first step is to stop them. Otherwise, they will first rush towards your family. Tian Fei came in front of Li Zongjio and said, Family? Li Zongjio had been fighting alone outside for the sake of providing a good place for his family in the faraway Wuxia city to recuperate. However, these people from the Xianyuan sect actually dared to take the initiative to target his family. Without a doubt, this had directly touched Li Zongjio's bottom line. I think these people are deliberately courting death. Li Zongjio's eyes were filled with a terrifying light. Find the people from the Xianyuan sect in the city for me, Li Zongjio ordered. Given Tai-Fi's familiarity with Li Zongjio, he knew without hesitation that something big was going to happen. Although Li Zongjio was very busy, he would always write a letter to his family and send it back to Wuxia city. These things were handled by Tai-Fi. Therefore, Tai-Fi also knew how much Li Zongjio cared about his family. Now a group of people had jumped out and wanted to deal with Li Zongjio's family. Yes, young master. Li Zongjio's eyes flickered with a cold light. What's wrong, kid? You're in trouble already. If you want me to take action, you have to make an appointment in advance. Otherwise, I'm very busy, Nangong Wuji said with a faint smile. Can you destroy the Xianyuan sect? Li Zongjio looked at Nangong Wuji with disdain in his eyes. Destroy the Xianyuan sect? What's going on? Why are you going against the Xianyuan sect? Nangong Wuji opened his eyes wide and looked at Li Zongjio in disbelief. You're really good at stirring up trouble. In the blink of an eye, you've provoked the Xianyuan sect. Although he had been living in seclusion in Heavenly Star Medicine Manor for many years, he was not dead. He was still aware of the happenings in the underworld. As the number one sect in Tianyuan province, the Xianyuan sect's strength was obvious. It was easy for them to mobilize several big families. It might seem ordinary, but once they gathered together, their power would be quite terrifying. The Xianyuan sect is provoking me, Li Zongjio said. It seemed like he would not be able to have a good rest tonight. Hehe, I don't have much to do with the Mystic Yuan sect, but I have a friend who has a very discordant relationship with the Mystic Yuan sect. Wait a moment, I'll contact him for you. I didn't expect that I would encounter such a lively matter as soon as I recovered my strength. Nangong Wuji was obviously excited. Li Zongjio glanced at the old man. It seemed that this old man was the one who really liked to stir up trouble. Then when are you going to fix my courtyard? This is a small matter. I'll take care of it in a minute. Nangong Wuji's figure disappeared into the night sky as soon as he finished speaking. Tianfei, who was standing at the side, could not wait any longer. Young master, according to the procedure of the sect's kill order, we have to prove that the order is effective. As long as I'm alive, they won't be able to carry out the order, Tianfei suddenly said. Li Zongjiu looked at Tianfei. Within 2 days, the sect will send a supervising elder to verify the content. Once it's verified, the kill order will be fully activated. At that time, I only need to show up to prove that the order is invalid. Because of the content of the kill order from before, it was obvious that it was based on Tianfei's death. If Tianfei had not been killed by Li Zongjiu, the kill order would not have existed. So what if it's valid? So what if it's invalid? Li Zongjiu, don't need to wait to kill, Li Zongjiu said proudly. Chapter 7:11. Since he had already planned to mess with Li Zongjiu's family, how could he continue to be courteous with him? What nonsense was this about whether it was effective or not? Li Zongjiu only needed to know where these people were, and kill them directly. As for the others, he would kill them one by one. If 10 came, he would kill 10. If they were too slow and Li Zongjiu wasn't satisfied, Li Zongjiu wouldn't mind bringing people to their sections. He would kill them until their sects were disbanded. These people really wanted to go to heaven. How dare they clamor at Li Zongjiu? Tianfei, on the other hand, was shocked by Li Zongjiu's attitude. What kind of thinking was this? Could it be that the entire Xianyuan sect was nothing in Li Zongjiu's eyes? One should know that there were at least 10 primitive emperors in the Xianyuan sect. Excluding those who had been guarding the sect for a long time, there were more than 10 primitive emperors who could move freely. Even in the sacred flame royal city, there might not be many forces that could resist the arrival of 10 primitive emperors. If young lord has already decided, please leave Gong Changhe's life to me, Tianfei said coldly. Tianfei would definitely make these people kneel and tremble at his feet after seeing the arrogance in their eyes that day. He would definitely make Gong Changhe pay 100-fold for breaking his finger. Up to you. Taifai's efficiency was good, but when the news was brought back, it brought a big problem. There was someone else who was secretly meddling in this matter. The 9th prince. Let's go. Let's deal with the 9th prince of the Xianyuan sect first. We'll settle the score with him later, Li Zongjiu said. Taifai brought Li Zongjiu to the Four Seas Inn. At the same time, Li Zongjiu mobilized his mental strength and summoned the Howling Moon Wolf King. Douling rode on the back of the Howling Moon Wolf King and shuttled through the eaves. What's going on? I was just about to win. Recently, Doulinger had become addicted to playing Sparrow. She had just gotten a good hand of cards and was about to win when she discovered that the Howling Moon Wolf King seemed to have received a message and was rushing over. Doulinger naturally stopped what she was doing. It was obvious that she had something important to do. Go kill a few people, Li Zongjiu said as he sat in the carriage and sped forward. The streets at night seemed particularly empty, mainly because it was getting late. Kill. As long as there is no blood. Doulinger. The one driving the carriage was Tianfei. Taifei and the others didn't follow. After all, they weren't strong enough. Even if they came, they would only be delivering their heads. When Tianfei first saw the strong and tall wolf appear beside him, he almost jumped in fright. It was not because of the wolf's size. After all, he had seen many yuan beasts. It was because of the fierce aura of the Howling Moon Wolf King. After getting closer, the terrifying aura of the wolf was enough to intimidate Tianfei. Coupled with the ferocious gaze that was directed at him, Tianfei felt a sense of deterrence. Over the past few months, the Howling Moon Wolf King's meals were very good. Other than the elixirs refined by Lu Wenshan, Douling would also frequently reward the Howling Moon Wolf King with a few elixirs. This allowed the Howling Moon Wolf King to enjoy what was called a good life. Its strength had also improved by leaps and bounds. In a short span of 3 months, the Howling Moon Wolf King's strength had reached the middle of the 5th rank after eating and drinking the best food. It was equivalent to a grade 5 yuan monarch. Its sharp claws had not seen blood for a long time, so it naturally wanted to enjoy death. Besides the Howling Moon Wolf King, Tianfei also saw a young lady sitting on its back. This young lady was like a fairy. This was Tianfei's first impression of her. He was even a little dazed. However, in Tianfei's mind, he quickly recalled what Lu Wenshan had said to Tianfei. He had to pay attention to a little girl. Although she looked gentle and pleasant, she was actually quite terrifying. Was it this fairy-like little girl before him? Tianfei started to doubt Lu Wenshan's motives. She was obviously an adorable little girl. How could he go around slandering her? This was really too much. Tianfei would never believe Lu Wenshan's nonsense. He must be trying to deceive him. Go! Tianfei was even more smug now that there was a beauty beside him. Yinghu was also in the carriage. Now that he had broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, he would be of some use in these battles. At this moment in the Four Seasons, the Ninth Prince and the Mystic Yuan sect had already reached an agreement. In order to better deal with Li Zongjie, the Ninth Prince would even provide protection for these people. In order to succeed, I will do whatever it takes. The Ninth Prince's eyes flashed coldly. In Gong Changhe's room, Han Shuang and Han Shue's acupoints had been sealed, and they had been drugged. This caused the twin sisters, Han Shuang and Han Shue, to lie on the bed unable to move. Their eyes flickered with the light of pain. The two of them had been sent to serve the Ninth Prince as his maids. They had only been groomed by Zishuan court. During this period of time, the Ninth Prince had already known the true identity of the two sisters. However, in order to make use of Zishuan court, he had deliberately kept the two sisters by his side. Now that he felt that Zishuan court was not very useful, he might as well give the two sisters to Gong Changhe. This was because the Ninth Prince's own ability was already at its limit. Therefore, there was a price to pay for success. Such a painful price had already been paid. How could the Ninth Prince not continue and succeed? When Gong Changhe returned to his room and saw the two sisters lying weakly on his bed, the corners of his mouth suddenly curled into a sinister smile. So what if you are a prince of the Xingyan dynasty? If I, Gong Changhe, like you, all I have to do is hook my finger, and you will automatically send your maids to my door. At this moment, Gong Changhe was very pleased with himself. Although he didn't say it explicitly, his hint was very accurate. It seemed that this Prince Xian Ming was a smart person. After he sent the person up, Lin Mingyao was stunned. This caused Gong Changhe to feel extremely satisfied. Don't worry, my ladies. You will feel very happy during this process. Gong Changhe rubbed his hands and walked towards the two sisters step by step. The two sisters gritted their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. At this moment, they could not move at all. They could only shed tears of humiliation. Just as Gong Changhe's demonic hands were about to reach the two sisters, a gust of cold wind blew by and blew open the window beside the bed. When Gong Changhe saw this, he immediately stopped what he was doing. Another pervert. A delicate shout sounded. It could be said that Do Ling was extremely unhappy when she saw this scene. These men were simply carved from the same mold. They all looked like the same damn men. Gong Changhe was extremely surprised when a figure suddenly appeared outside the window. Who is it? Gong Changhe immediately let out a loud roar. Damn you! As soon as he finished speaking, the Howling Moon Wolf King smashed the window in front of him with its paw, and its huge body immediately rushed in. On the other hand, Gong Changhe's reaction was relatively fast. He immediately retreated, but the Howling Moon Wolf King's speed was even faster. After it pounced on Gong Changhe, its sharp claws left a sharp gash on his shoulder. Gong Changhe immediately felt the pain and slapped the Howling Moon Wolf King with his palm. He wanted to send the Howling Moon Wolf King flying, but Gong Changhe felt a strong rebounding force. His entire palm was shaken to the point of pain. Hiss! Gong Changhe sucked in a breath of cold air. While he was looking, the Howling Moon Wolf King had already swung its tail. Bang! The Howling Moon Wolf King's body instantly fell to the ground. Just as the Howling Moon Wolf King was about to roar, Do Ling immediately gestured for the Howling Moon Wolf King to be quiet. If it was too noisy, it would disturb the others' sleep. This was impolite behavior. Damn it, who are you people? Chapter 712. After being knocked down by Dou Ling, Gong Changhe was furious. Gong Changhe's face was also filled with displeasure and anger. There was actually someone who dared to attack him, the dignified Gong Changhe. He was the young master of the mystic Yuan sect. Did they think he was just a nobody? Gong Changhe immediately took out a cyan steel longsword. Most importantly, he turned around and fled. After all, the strength of the man and the wolf was not ordinary. If he fought with them forcefully, he would definitely be affected. He might even be at a disadvantage. Anyway, there were so many people in the sect, and Elder Xiao Yuan was also here. Naturally, there was nothing to be afraid of. However, it was not so easy for Gong Changhe to escape. The Howling Moon Wolf King instantly blocked Gong Changhe's escape route. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, revealing its sharpness. No matter how Gong Changhe's cyan steel longsword pierced its body, it did not budge at all. Clang! Gently it brought up a trail of fire. Even with my metal attribute sword energy, I can't hurt this wolf. Dou Ling unsealed the acupuncture points of Han Shuang and Han Shue's children. At the same time, she poured a stream of elemental energy into them to help them dissolve the poison in their bodies. You even drugged them. You're really shameless. Dou Ling looked at Gong Changhe, as if she was looking at the world's worst scum. She could not wait to smash him into pieces. Thank you, heroine, for saving our lives. The two women were naturally grateful to Dou Ling for saving their lives. It was all thanks to Dou Ling that they could be saved this time. Otherwise, it was easy to imagine what would happen next. It's okay. Dou Ling waved her hand. This was the first time Dou Ling was called a heroine. It was a refreshing feeling to be called a heroine. You bitches, how dare you hurt me? The Mystic Yuan sect will not let you off. Gong Changhe was beaten up by the Howling Moon Wolf King. He did not even have the chance to escape, and was directly pressed against the floor. Gong Changhe, who had only revealed his head, cursed Dou Ling in front of him. How dare you be so arrogant? Cut him for me. Dou Ling suddenly said. Elder, save me. Gong Changhe immediately roared. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a terrifying fluctuation coming from the room next door. Boom! Xiao Yuan broke through the wall and rolled out, smashing onto the floor. He happened to be right in front of Gong Changhe. Pooh! Xiao Yuan immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood sprayed on the floor, making Xiao Yuan's complexion quite pale. Ah! There's blood! When Dou Ling saw the blood, she immediately covered her eyes and turned her head away. Elder? Seeing Xiao Yuan land on the ground, Gong Changhe couldn't believe it. Even this primitive emperor elder was beaten to such a state. Who was the one who did it? Let's count and see if there's anyone else left behind. Li Zongjiu's voice came from the darkness. Then with a few thuds 5 heads rolled on the ground. When he saw the 5 heads he was shocked. Gong Changhe immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Xiao Yuan was shocked and couldn't believe it. These 5 people were the disciples of Xin Yuan sect. There were a total of 7 people accompanying them. Qin Liang had gone to kill Tian Fei, and had yet to return to the team. The heads of the remaining 5 people were all placed in front of everyone's eyes. How could anyone be surprised when they saw this scene? It was obvious that they were here to exterminate everyone. It's you, Li Zongjiu. Xiao Yuan raised his head and saw Li Zongjiu. Immediately, his eyes were filled with coldness. Just now, when he was cultivating and healing, someone sneaked in and attacked him. The weapon in Li Zongjiu's hand seemed to be specialized in restraining the Yuan Qi of primitive emperors. It was completely suppressed by Li Zongjiu, and there was no way to resist it. It's me, Li Zongjiu said lightly. You're courting death. Xiao Yuan was really angry. As an primitive emperor expert, he was repeatedly beaten to the ground and vomited blood by a young Yuan monarch expert. This made Xiao Yuan unable to bear such humiliation. Immediately, Xiao Yuan slapped the ground angrily. Boom! The whole floor collapsed in an instant. Suddenly, a golden rooster with golden light appeared on Xiao Yuan's body. When the golden rooster appeared, the aura in the air seemed to become extremely sharp. This was Xiao Yuan's original spirit. Golden Rooster King. Li Zongjiu, you're courting death. Xiao Yuan spat out blood at the corner of his mouth, but it couldn't conceal the tyrannical aura on his body. staring at Li Zongjio in front of him. His eyes were full of indifference. The ceiling and roof of the inn were penetrated by the golden rooster. The howling moon wolf king crawled on the ground and kept baring his teeth, as if he was having a fierce collision with the aura of the golden rooster. Go and capture that brat. Li Zongjio shot a glance at Gong Changhe, who was about to escape. The howling moon wolf king didn't say anything and went straight down. Whoosh! Don't even think about leaving here alive today. Xiao Yuan was completely infuriated. How can a mere rooster give you so much confidence? Li Zongjio looked at Xiao Yuan and couldn't help but sneer. He immediately released the Yuan power in his hand. The aura of the desolate heaven essence was like a mountain range, shrouding the golden rooster in the sky layer by layer. Boom! Xiao Yuan also controlled the golden pheasant to peck down. It seemed to have the power to break through 10,000 caddies. Boom! Boom! A muffled sound was heard as the power of vibration spread out wildly. Li Zongjio's figure instantly disappeared from where he was as he charged towards Xiao Yuan. Blood Soul Hell! When Li Zongjio's hellish power spread out, it directly enveloped Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan was about to have a head-on confrontation with Li Zongjio, when he suddenly seemed to have fallen into some kind of domain. The power in his body was also greatly suppressed at this moment. Behind him, the Golden Rooster King's body kept shrinking. Domain power? You are only an Yuan monarch. How can you use the power of a domain? Xiao Yuan was shocked. He looked at Li Zongjio in front of him. His eyes were full of shock. In order to create the effect of a domain, one had to be at least a grade 6 Yuan monarch. Now Li Zongjio was only an Yuan monarch, but he was able to use a domain. This was the real power of a domain. There was nothing fake about it. Could there be a grade 6 Yuan monarch powerhouse behind Li Zongjio? That's right. If Li Zongjio didn't have such an expert behind him, how could he be so arrogant? If Li Zongjio didn't have such an expert behind him, how could he have such a powerful strength and means? Li Zongjio, let's talk things over. Stop. I will immediately lift the sect must kill order. Your mystic Yuan sect will not pursue the matter. Xiao Yuan said anxiously. The power of the domain was too strong, so Xiao Yuan's golden rooster power could only be maintained in his own body and not be attacked at all. Oh, in other words, your mystic Yuan sect is willing to let me off? Li Zongjio chuckled as he held the desolate heaven essence in his hand. That's right. We won't pursue the matter. Let's talk things over. You won't pursue the matter, but I want to pursue the matter with you. If you have any ability, just use it. I won't let you off today. Li Zongjio said nonchalantly. Xiao Yuan cursed in his heart when he heard this. This darn guy, why didn't he say that he had such a powerful backer? The only thing he could do now was to escape. It didn't matter if those disciples died, but if Gong Changhe also died, then the matter would be serious. Therefore, Gong Changhe had to be the one to take him away. However, Xiao Yuan thought too highly of himself. With his strength, it wouldn't be easy for him to escape. Xiao Yuan used his Yuan spirit power and slashed at the border of the blood soul hell. He wanted to split the hell open, but he only managed to create a crack. Li Zongjio, who was behind him, had already waved the desolate heaven essence in his hand and smashed it at him. This move is called overlapping mountains. Li Zongjio used the desolate heaven essence's technique. Instantly, the terrifying power stacked layer by layer and swept forward. Not good. Facing the power of Li Zongjio's move, Xiao Yuan himself also sank into an extremely shocked state. Block it for me. The power of the golden rooster immediately swept out. However, under the light of the desolate heaven essence, it was instantly blasted clean. The desolate heaven essence directly hit Xiao Yuan. Pung! Xiao Yuan's body was immediately shattered inch by the domineering power of the desolate heaven essence. No. After Xiao Yuan let out a final roar, he couldn't speak again. He was no longer able to speak. Even Xiao Yuan's strength had been completely destroyed. Of course, none of Xiao Yuan's energy was wasted. All of it was integrated into the power of hell. It was completely absorbed. Li Zongjio extended his hand and beckoned. With a swoosh, Xiao Yuan's storage ring landed in Li Zongjio's hand. It was a ring that shone with a golden crown light. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.